What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Ask the Expert live Q&A this great and wonderful Thursday. Hope you guys are doing super well. As you guys are coming in, let me know you're here by saying hi in the chat. Let me know where you're from. I always like to get a visual map of where everybody's watching from in this great fencing world. As you guys are coming in and letting me know you're here, I'll go ahead and throw up your comments and answer any of your questions as they come in. Just like so, Dylan's been waiting patiently. Dylan was actually in here before the broadcast started. So, Dylan, I appreciate you hanging around, and I always love a good orange joke. Dylan says, "Hey, Joe, aren't you glad the Fence Prince is here?" Absolutely, I am. Welcome, Dylan. Always good to have the Fence Prince here, and you can't have the Fence Prince without the Fence King. Dan is also here. So, a little backstory on this. So Dan had shot me a message earlier today about YouTube, actually, YouTube questions. And I had given him a call back and left him a message, said, "Hey, give me a call or shoot me a text." Well, as I was getting all this sorted and put together and lights turned on and camera hooked up, I saw Dan's missed call, so I didn't have a chance to call him back. So he says, I was like, Joe said his voicemail to call him back. He's not answering. Then I got the Joe Everest is going live in 5 minutes alert. Hashtag Fence King. What is up, Dan? I'm so glad you're here. Hey, if it's a question you want to ask, if you want to ask in a group setting, drop it in the comments below. We can talk YouTube today. I'm totally good with that. Guys, listen, here's the thing. The live Q&A is really you ask me whatever you want, and I'll answer it to the best of my abilities. It can be fencing or business or YouTube related. I really don't mind. What is up, Renee? Star Jazz Bell says, "Hi, Joe. I'm Renee from Cleveland, Ohio. What is up?" I bet Cleveland is fairly cold today. So the whole United States, I believe, is going through a bit of a cold snap. Here in Springfield, Missouri, Southwest Missouri, it was a balmy 18 degrees. Had a bunch of ice over the last couple days, and it wasn't just like the all-at-once ice. It was that drizzling mist ice, and it was just so much worse. And then we got a coating of snow on it, which means everyone is slipping and sliding around today. I'll be honest with you, I fell twice so far today. So anyway, love to hear how things are in Cleveland or in your neck of the woods. I think I read a stat that said, what was it? It was something like this is the first time in the last 30 or 35 years that all the continental United States are below average temperature. So huge cold snap blowing through the United States. Get that out. What is up, Chad? Oh, from Holly Springs, North Carolina. Holly Springs. All right. So a little backstory on me. I was actually born in North Carolina. I was born in Raleigh, North Carolina. I actually lived just outside Raleigh for quite a long time. So what is up, fellow North Carolinian? Is that a word? If not, it should be, I guess. What's up, Jeff? Jeff says, "Hey, Joe, Jeff from Pennsylvania." All right, so we've got Ohio. Now, Fence Prince and Fence King are holding it down in Louisiana. Then we got Cleveland, Ohio, North Carolina, Pennsylvania. So we got East Coast and South and North. Cleveland, I guess, would you be considered North? No Westerners. Where's our West Coast group at? Still fairly early in the day over there, I guess. So it's 3 here in Central, so I'd make it 1 o'clock p.m. West Coast time. All right. Kenny, the Stain Man, is with us. Kenny Dugan, thawing out in Dallas-Fort Worth. Big pile up in Fort Worth. Keep your crews and family safe. Hey, that's for real. So we've got a policy that we're in Springfield, Missouri. So if the Springfield Public Schools call school for weather, we don't put trucks on the road. And the logic there is if they don't feel safe putting a bus full of kids out there on the roads, I don't feel safe putting a truck, a trailer, and those kids' parents out on the road. So that's kind of where we're at. Now, we do have, it's optional to come in and work. I mean, guys don't need to miss out hours if they feel it's safe to come in. And, of course, as you guys probably know, if you're just joining in, you might not know, we're building a new YouTube studio. Actually, we bought an older building, and we're remodeling a little bit. So the guys were in there today building desks. And so I'll have to show you guys. If you guys follow me on the Joe Everest page, I threw a picture up there, and I'll be doing another one here in a little bit, showing a little update status. So what they were doing today was building desks and chairs and the Rewood product. So Rewood is a reclaimed redwood fence picket that's planed down to where one side is really nice and smooth, and then some really sticky 3M adhesive is applied to that. And it's peel and stick. So they've been doing a lot of that today. They did the front office desk, which is looking super nice. And then they did the walls at the YouTube studio. Now, I shot a quick video yesterday. All these days are kind of blending together. But I shot a video yesterday where I did kind of the first half of the wall in the rewood. And you guys will be seeing that probably next month or so. It's a rewood. It's a great product. Like I said, reclaimed redwood for interior accent walls and stuff like that. As a fence guy, I love that they are reclaiming the redwood fence pickets and reusing them rather than sending them to the dump. But yeah, Kenny, hope you're staying safe. Hope you're thawing out down there. Everybody's getting a little cold, especially the southern states. A friend of mine has family in Florida, and they're putting out falling iguana warnings. So I guess when it gets cold enough, these iguanas go into hibernation mode and fall out of the trees. And I mean, these things are probably 10, 15 pounds falling out of a 20-foot tree. That could really do some damage. Anyway, Kenny, hope you're doing well. I look forward to seeing Kenny at Staining and Seal Experts Staining University 2021. As you guys see, it is scrolling across the bottom there. They're also adding the Mr. Fence Academy to the Friday portion of that. Kenny's coming up to do some staining demonstrations, and I'm going to be there to talk a little bit about marketing, specifically video marketing, why you should be doing it and what you should be doing it about. We're also going to have all sorts of other staining demonstrations. Like I said, Sean King, Mr. Fence, is going to be putting on the Fencing Academy the next day on Friday, building a couple different types of fence and answering any and all the questions on tools they use and how they use them and best practices, that sort of thing. If you guys are interested in that, click the link in the description below. You'll have a little bit of information, also an online sign up for that. Cannon is in the house. Cannon Jave here, falling from the frozen tundra of West Tennessee. You're not kidding. You guys are getting basically the same weather we're getting. I think you guys get it about 5 or 6 hours after we get it. It is nasty. Like I said, 18 was the high today, and then ice with snow on top of it. We're supposed to be getting Sunday night into Monday. We're supposed to be getting up to another 6 inches of snow. Next week, it's all highs. Let's see. I think the warmest temperature next week until Friday, but prior to next Friday is going to be like 18 for a high. Monday's supposed to be 5 or 6 for a high, -8 for a low. So we are currently having the discussion on what we're going to do next week because we're not sending fence guys out into that kind of weather. So we'll probably be doing more office work and YouTube work. But anyway, what is up, Cannon? So happy to see you here. 26 degrees in Cleveland right now. So it's actually warmer in Cleveland, Ohio than it is in Southwest Missouri. How crazy is that? Yeah. Renee, I am here for all the fence jokes, and I love it. And I appreciate you bringing me another one. Yeah, so actually, like, what we're doing is, so we're recreating this background you see behind me. So the background is actually, this particular background is actually just cloth. It's like an imitation barnwood, right? In the new studio, we're putting up that reclaimed redwood product, and it's actually reclaimed fence pickets up on the wall. So they're intended for accent walls, and we went ahead and just made the whole studio backdropped with the rewood product. So what we're going to do, like I said, we're going to recreate this look behind me, but for real this time. And it's a pretty neat look. It's varying lengths, so anywhere from, I want to say the shortest was like 8 or 10 inches all the way up to 4 foot. And there's like 10 or 12 different sizes. A lot of them are different colors. So what they'll do is they'll pull these fence pickets down and then leave them. Like I said, they'll plane the back end, the side you don't see. They'll plane it down where it's nice, flat, and smooth so that adhesive will stick. But the side you see, the facing of the picket, remains whatever it was when it was taken down. Now, whether it was stained, natural gray, or whether it was painted, there's a few painted ones in there. You kind of get what you get, and it looks so nice. Can't wait to show you guys that. What's up, Chad? Chad says, had to say, hey, put in 430 foot of Shadowbox New Year's week. That is a lot of fence. We're loving it. I'm glad. Awesome for our young kids to play and enjoy the bonfire solo stove with some privacy. Thanks for the tips. Hey, I appreciate you. Tips and here we go. Tips and videos. The dingo recommendation from Home Depot was the best decision ever. I'm glad you liked it. Makes digging 60 holes so easy. Getting ready to stain the fence soon if we ever get a dry week. Super rainy. Well, Chad, I am so glad that went up. So let me look in the first one. You said you did, Shadowbox fence. Great work on that. So Shadowbox, guys, for you guys maybe that aren't familiar with fencing, Shadowbox just means the pickets are overlapped. So how much I'm supposed to show you guys this? They're overlapped, but on either side of the 2x4, on either side of the fence. It takes quite a bit longer because it's more, you're working on both sides of the fence, so one side of the fence. Also, you got to get that spacing right. So you're usually using a spacing jig to space out those pickets just right. So a lot more labor, but the end result is it looks quite a bit nicer. So congrats, Chad. Now, you said that you're going to be staining it. Yeah. So staining a Shadowbox fence, let me tell you, take however long you think it's going to take and double it. It seems like every time we stain a Shadowbox fence, it always, and we're prepared for them now. We know it should take longer. It still takes longer than we think it's going to. It's bizarre. I mean, because you're trying to get it in every nook and cranny. You want to seal the whole thing, but Shadowbox is hard to get into. Anyway, I'm glad you went with the Dingo. Guys, if you're building a fence, do yourself a favor. Rent one of these mini skid steers. Toro makes one called the Dingo. It's actually the one we use. Bobcat has one, which is probably the one we're going to get into. The MT100 is their newest one. We'll probably end up picking up one of those maybe this year, probably next year. But yeah, the mini skids make your life a whole lot easier. One, for digging holes. I mean, it makes digging holes quite a bit easier. But two, you can rent them with the forks as well. You can move the material around the job site. You can get a bucket for them as well. So you can also have a bucket at every hole to scoop up the spoils or the extra dirt. Anyway, Chad, super glad to hear that project went well. The 430 feet is not an insubstantial fence. It's actually larger than our average project here in Southwest Missouri. So great work on you, bud. Jeff, what is up? Jeff Keppert says, we in central Pennsylvania got 7 to 8 inches last night, over 15 inches on the ground. Positive side, keep the frost level lower. That's a lot of snow, Jeff. So here in the Southwest Missouri, we are not used to getting that kind of snow in the last several years. Now, when I was a kid, I remember, now when you're a kid, everything seems bigger, right? But man, I remember building like these huge, like these snow huts, right? Where you just mount snow up, hollow out the middle, and you got a little snow fort. We haven't had enough snow to do that. I mean, on average, I think right now we're getting 3 or 4 inches of snow a year or a winter. So everyone here is losing their mind over 6 inches because it's quite a lot more than everyone's used to getting. But you guys in Pennsylvania just do it at a whole different level. 15 inches are on the ground right now. Good grief. That's a lot of snow. Chad says he used 1,350 pickets, 2-inch spacing. There you go. So that'd be some nice overlap. So the pickets, Jeff, they're probably 5.5-inch pickets if I were going to guess. They might be 6-inch. Some places sell a true 6-inch picket. A lot of places sell the 5.5-inch wide picket, but one way or the other, a 2-inch spacing means that you're going to have quite a bit of overlap, which is really nice. It's going to give you extra privacy. So I love that a lot. Ronald Clark, is it Clarite? Hope I didn't butcher that too bad. Hey, Joe, Ronald here, back in your live Q&A session from the Gulf Coast. My mind got twisted and not okay. So you're back into our live Q&A from the Gulf Coast's South Mississippi. What is up? Quick question. How many hinges for an 8-foot privacy wooden fence, 14-foot, double gate, 3 or 4? Here's the thing with hinges. I'm actually going to say neither. So what I would do, we always use 2 hinges. And the reason being, when you add a third or especially a fourth, you have to make sure those hinges are aligned precisely in line with each other. One hinge, it's a little bit outside of that line, and it's going to put your gate in a bind. Now, the thing is, you can install them perfectly today, and in 3 or 4 years, they're still going to get out. That gate's going to get in a bind. We would use, a 14-foot double gate, though. So it's 8-foot tall, 7-foot wide gates. Those are massive. So I hope you're using steel frames on steel posts. If so, you'd use a commercial hinge. I would probably use we call them it's a bulldog hinge is what it is. Commercial bulldog hinge. So it's made for holding heavy gates. You only need 2 of them because they're super heavy duty. They clamp to the post and to the steel frame. So anyway, my answer, Ronald, is neither. We would use 2 so that even as the fence ages, those hinges don't have to stay in perfect, precise alignment to keep it from binding up. Chad says, yeah, it's gonna take forever to stay in the Shadowbox fence. I'm planning to do a pass with a wide tip 12-inch tip. There you go. Then go back with a 4 or 6-inch tip to get the hard to reach areas. Sounds like you're off to a good start. So yeah, doing a double pass would probably help. Like I said, just plan on it taking forever. The 4 or 6-inch tip is going to be easier to get inside. So with the Shadowbox fence, you have to shoot through that 2-inch gap that you left to try to get inside on that picket the whole thing, and to get the edges underneath the 2x4s. It's going to be a little bit tricky, but I like that you're using a smaller tip to try to get in all the nooks and crannies. What is up, Renee? Please tell me where you got the cloth behind you that looks like wood. Very nice. It was on Amazon. Like, quite literally, I think quite literally everything in here is Amazon. I mean, quite literally all the equipment in here is from Amazon. I actually have, you know what I don't have, Renee? I was thinking about this. I was going to say I've got links to most everything I use. That's a question I get a lot, is just about different equipment we use for the lives or for the produced content. I don't have a link for the background, and I probably should. But yeah, I just, what would I have searched? I would have searched, oh man, I don't even think I had the packaging. I wouldn't have saved it. It's just a photo background is what it is. So it's a fabric photo background, wood panel. But yeah, they're from Amazon. So Ronald says he plans to use a heavy duty 12 to 13 inch T hinge and using, okay. So gate wheel casters help for sure. Be careful on the casters, and the reason I say that is I've seen gates that we've gone back and serviced that used wheels on a swing gate. Sometimes they can put it in a bind. If you're using steel posts, you're fine. If you're using wood posts and that top of that post leans in towards the opening, it's going to settle that gate down onto that wheel, and it might create a bind. But yeah, 12 to 13 inch T hinges would be fine. What kind of poach are you using? I'd be interested to hear about that. Chad says, okay, yeah, 5 3/4. Yeah, so they would call that a 5.5 inch wide picket. Yeah, they could actually measure like up to 5 7/8 or something like that wet. I've seen them just right at 6 inches. So what they'll call those is they'll call them a 6 inch nominal. So you have 6 inch true, 6 inch nominal. 6 inch nominal is typically 5.5 inches. Dry, but you're right, wet. They're probably 5 3/4. Bearcat Steve, what is up, Steve? This is Steve. Greetings from Easley, South Carolina. Just as business is picking up, I'm being scheduled for back surgery. And 8 weeks of recovery. Wow, 2 months. Staying positive as customers are understanding. It's great news. Here's the thing, Steve. I think probably what you're finding out is as long as you communicate with them, as long as you let them know what to expect and what's going on, and that you expect an 8 week recovery and all that, most everyone pretty well understands when hiccups come into our lives. The problem is when you don't communicate, right? So typically when you hear about customers that have bad experiences, it's typically in the communication. You've never heard someone that had a huge issue that also says that this guy just over communicated. This guy was trying to talk to me all the time about all the things about my project, and I just didn't want to hear it. You never hear that, right? Communication is key. Let your customers know what's coming up, and like you're experiencing, they'll be pretty understanding. I hope your surgery goes well, and I hope your recovery goes well. Why don't you do this, Steve? If you remember, why don't you do a follow-up with us and let us know how things are going? Or during your 8 week recovery, hop in here and let us know how you're doing. Steve goes on to say, just wondering if you've ever tried the post spikes from Osco. They are supposed to work well on the hard clay we have around us. Thoughts? So, Steve, actually, what was it? Guys, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago during a live, we jumped over onto the Osco website because this question came up in the past, asking about the post spikes. I personally have not used them in this iteration. We used a spike in the past that was pretty similar to these. Easy, Joe. It might have been like a version 1.0 of these spikes. This was probably, I want to say it was 7 or 8 years ago. We used them on a project that specifically called for them. It was a Chick-fil-A. We were doing a fence for Chick-fil-A, and they specifically called out these spikes in the specifications. So we went and got them. And there's a specialty head you use to install them with a jackhammer. We had a jackhammer. You had to buy the head from them and went in just a standard receiver for a jackhammer, and then you just drive them in with that. So they worked out pretty well for us. If I remember right, they weren't this iteration, and I'm not saying they were the Osco ones, but this iteration wasn't the highest quality. We ended up, they worked for the project. We used them because they were called out in the specs, but we didn't pursue them too much further past that. That being said, after looking at the Osco spikes a few weeks ago, We're going to go ahead and order some in. We're going to do a review on this channel where I'll probably drive. It's similar to our, I don't know if you guys have seen the post foam review. We did one, gosh, what's it been, guys? 2 or 3 weeks ago. That kind of seems to be my point of reference. Everything's always 2 or 3 weeks ago, I guess. But we uploaded a video where I compared post lock expanding foam to the Sika Pro Select expanding foam to concrete, to the Sacrete. We'll probably do something similar with these spikes. We'll probably do a test for the spikes, drive in. So what we did with the foam is we did 2 of each type. So a total of 6 posts in this case. We'll probably do that again. Use 2 of the Osco spikes, post spikes, and then compare them maybe with 2 of the post foam. Probably post lock. After the testing, I kind of prefer the post lock over the Sika, and then 2 concrete. Maybe do a side-by-side comparison like that. See how they do. So stay tuned for that in the future, Steve. Yeah, Bulldog hinges. So they're what we use like in for large commercial chain link gates. They're used to carrying heavy gate frames. Now you need to use a steel gate frame, and I would probably use what we use for a standard wood gate, steel framed wood gate would be 1.5 inch square tube, and it's going to be like a 14 gauge. You would want to use the Bulldog needs a round hinge anyway. So the way the hinge is set up, the coupler sits. It's a sleeve. It's a collar outside of the gate frame, and the gate frame rotates inside of it. So it has to be round. But you'd want to do something a little bit heavier than 14 gauge. You'd probably want to use like a CS20, CS40, something like that, just to make sure that it doesn't come out of line. Because you got to think about it. This thing's 8 foot tall and 7 foot wide. Each gate is. That's going to be a heavy gate. I mean, there's going to be a lot of weight on that frame. You want to use as heavy as I'd use as heavy as pipe as you can afford, because you don't want to have to go back and replace it, right? You don't have to go back and cut it apart and re-weld it if something sags or bends, something like that. But yeah, I would check out those Bulldog hinges. All right, well, this scraps that plan. So 6x6 12 pine. Okay, yeah. Please do price the metal post. The 6x6, the Bulldog hinges won't work. So you could use strap hinges. The problem is, even if like a 13 inch, which I like that's where your head went, was a large steel hinge. The problem I would have with that is you're still going to lag that, or you can drill and bolt it, but you're still going to drill and bolt or lag into that wood frame. I would prefer a steel to steel connection, just for my peace of mind, honestly. Chad says, debating on using Ready Seal or Stainless Steel Experts. I think you guys know, if you check out my new hat, I think you know which way I'll go on that. How many years have you been using Stainless Steel Experts stain? What brands did you use before Stainless Steel? So we've been using Stainless Steel Experts, I want to say three or 4 years. It's been quite a while. We didn't use stain prior to that. I had tried out specifically some Ready Seal, and there are a few other brands that were kind of in the market. We tried some from the home improvement stores just because they're quick and easy to get to. We didn't have to order online and wait for them to be shipped. The thing is, there's so many chemicals in these, even the oil-based. I mean, you pop the top off, and the chemical smell, it hits you in the face. And typically what you're picking up on are the VOCs, the volatile organic compounds, and they're really unhealthy. I mean, you need to wear, even with Stainless Steel Experts, you still ought to wear PPE. But with a lot of these others, you need to wear respirators so that you're not inhaling these vapors. You need to wear a lot of, your gloves, but also a lot of guys will wear Tyvek suits just to keep it from getting on you. It can create rashes if it stays on too long. The Stainless Steel Experts doesn't have the chemical smell. We typically don't wear respirators unless it's like a really windy day, or if we're in more of an enclosed area. And we'll wear gloves just so that we don't have to keep wiping our hands off. But there's not a concern on, having issues with breathing if you're not wearing a respirator and all that. I prefer Stainless Steel Experts. And I've used them prior to them sponsoring us. So they obviously sponsor our live broadcasts, and I really appreciate that. But we use them. We were a client of Stainless Steel Experts for, like I said, 3 or 4 years before Caleb and I, really before the YouTube channel was even a thing. And before Caleb and I kind of had the discussion on what it might look like on sponsoring the live. I'm a client first and foremost. And the reason that they are a sponsor is because we continue to use it. We continue to use their product just because I really like it. Ron says, another question. I replaced our entire fence, Shadowbox, after the most recent hurricane here, Zeta, in late October. How would you recommend staining without having to stain the backside as well? So what you could do, let's see. Well, replaced past tense. So it sounds like the fence is already up, maybe. If the fence is already up, so let's see. If the fence isn't, I'll start there. If the fence isn't up, I would recommend pre-staining those fence boards. You could pre-spray them, or we have a dip tank. You can make a DIY version of a dip tank out of a 6-inch. Was it a 6-inch or 8? I think it was an 8-inch PVC pipe capped on both ends with the top, I don't know, the top third cut out. So you're making a trough essentially. I saw this on a YouTube video. We were researching dip tanks, and I went to YouTube. And anyway, so a guy made this out of, I believe it's 8-inch PVC. I made it like a trough, put his stain in there, and then dipped each product. That would work super well. That makes sure you get inside all the nooks and crannies, all the faces get it. But if the fence is already up, so your question is, how would you recommend staining without having to stain the backside? If you're staining on site, you still have to stain the backside. So we use, obviously, like I just said, Stain Seal Experts. I like because it's a penetrating stain. It sucks it into the wood. The problem is it's not going to suck it. It's not going to soak it all the way through the board. So it doesn't matter how wet you spray this on, how heavy you apply it. It's still not going to coat it thoroughly enough to get the back of the board. You would still need to spray. You'd still need to spray the back. Wade says, hello, Joe. We're at high 0 today. Minneapolis life. Wade, I feel for you, brother. It reminds me of the meme. It goes around every winter where it basically says, what does it say? The weather hurts my face. Why do I live somewhere where the weather hurts my face? And that I think about that every time I go outside and the weather hurts my face. Like, that is a valid point. I don't know why we live here. But then things clear up and you figure out why. Minneapolis. So I actually have cousins, or a cousin and cousin-in-law that live outside of Minneapolis. So, yeah, very good. They were Gophers. So go Gophers for them. All right, so Ronald clarified on why he doesn't want to stay in the back of his fence, because then he'll have to stain all 3 of my neighbors' entire fences. I hear that, Ronald. I mean, no one wants to do that. The problem is, if you just stay in your side of the fence, it is going to soak through the board in spots. And so what we always say is, this question comes up, can I just stain my side? You can, but the other side is going to look polka dotted. I mean, it's going to look splotchy on the back side where bits and pieces and parts have soaked through, but it doesn't soak through the entire board. It's not a uniform look. Now, could you do it? Sure. But like I said, it's going to be a really, really inconsistent look. All right, we're all cut up on questions. Guys, if you have fencing questions or comments, leave them in the comments below. Also, if you haven't said hi yet, drop a comment in there. Let me know you're here by saying hi, and let me know what part of this great fencing world you're calling in from. That shows you how old I am, I guess. Where you're tuning in from, where you're watching from. I always like to create a visual map of where everybody's at any given day, so figure out how far we're reaching out into the YouTube interwebs. Yeah. Whoop. Recommendation for good post toppers with solar light. I bought some from Home Depot, but they're not very bright at night. Ron, I honestly don't know. We don't offer post toppers, so most of the posts we install are steel posts and the steel Postmaster post, and you're really not going to you're not going to find a cap that fits on those very well. I wouldn't be the best guy to ask. I haven't used them personally, so I'm not sure where to send you at all. What is up, Ashley? Nice hat. Thank you. I tell you where I got this hat. I got this hat at last year's Stainless Steel 2020 Stainless Steel University. Picked up this very nice hat, and your husband Caleb wouldn't even let me pay for it. And I threw a fit, and he still wouldn't let me pay for it. And I said, "You obviously paid for the hat. I want to pay you for the hat." He wouldn't do it. He's a bit of a jerk like that. So, there's that. But it is a nice hat, and thank you for giving it to me. They are nice hats. Look at that. So I got the one that's obviously orange lettering. But there's also different colors. If you guys are coming to Lebanon, Tennessee for Stainless Steel University, along with the Fencing Academy, I'm sure Stainless Steel Experts will have more hats that were up for sale, and you should pick you up one. They are very comfy. I've worn this hat all day long, and I really enjoy it. Wade says, I want to chat with you in Lebanon about the apps you use. 100%, Wade. I actually, I'll share with guys. I'm an open book. I'll share with you whatever I know and whether tips and tricks and apps or whatever I use. I actually did a video a couple weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, about the apps that we use, kind of the top. I say top five. When we go to top five, there's always a bonus at the end. So the 6 apps that we use a lot. Wade, I tell you what, I'd love to talk to you in Lebanon, but I'd also love to tell you about them now. What problems are you trying to solve with apps? And we can certainly go through that. Depending on which app it is, I can probably run you guys through in a screen share. I always like doing this in a live setting, kind of showing you guys what we use or answering questions, because just like Ronald, usually as I'm asking questions, there's follow-up questions or there's clarifications. So if I can do it in a live setting, if I can run you through the apps in person, I can probably give you a little bit better information. Ron says, I'm in Ocean Springs, Mississippi. That's right on the Gulf of Mexico. Very good, Ronald. Hey, did you tell us what's your weather like down there? I'm always kind of curious. It's obviously a weather show, but I wonder how cold it is. I mean, I guess it's probably still pretty cold just because in Florida, like I said, Florida, they're having iguanas fall out of trees. That's just hard to comprehend. You're walking around in paradise, essentially, and iguanas are falling out of trees. Unreal. What's up, Roy? Roy Luna says, what do you think of using 50-50 used oil and diesel to stain a fence? Absolutely not. No way. As a company, absolutely no way. So there's no shot that diesel is going to be approved by the EPA as to be used, especially, and same thing with used oil. There's no way. Just the stain, even if there's no drips or drops, and I don't know how you would do that, but even if, it would still leach. Every time it rains, it's still going to leach chemicals into the ground. Absolutely not, Roy. Wade says, I'm looking at Job Nimbus and My Salesman. Absolutely. We can run through those. What's up, Channing? Channing says, what's up from West Texas? What is up? I bet you guys are also having cold. Everybody's having cold weather. So, but what is up from West Texas? All right. Wade says, looking at Job Nimbus and My Salesman. So let's do this. Let's run through My Salesman real quick. I'm going to try. Not a big technology show. Guys, please keep in mind I'm a fence guy, right? So we've done this a few times. I'm getting better at it. Not super proficient at it, but let me do this. So we're going to open up our My Salesman quote tool. We're going to run through this as if you guys are the client or come into our office and we run you through it. But all right, we are going to share the screen. Can you guys see that? Let's see. There you go. Let's change the background around a little bit. There we go. All right. So let's run you through. Let's take that comment down and give you guys a little bit better view of it. So this is how it starts out on My Salesman. It's going to have just a view of the United States, and it lets you type in your address. We're going to type in, we'll use our shop address, 1716 West College here in Springfield. Find your home. So that's the shop as it sits right now. So for you guys tuning in, so this is where our operation is right now, the Ozark Fence Lots. These are actually the buildings that we bought back in December. So this is going to be our offices. Then we have some conference rooms. And then this is the YouTube studio that we're building out. So you guys can kind of see, it's kind of hard to see at this angle, but this used to be a barn, and this was the house. So then they eventually built on some offices and conference rooms and such. But up in the hayloft of this barn is where our YouTube studio is going to reside. But all right, so let's say the Ozark Fence Studio, or the Ozark Fence Studio. The Ozark Fence is let's see. We've got some houses behind us here. We'll use one of those. So say this is my house. I'm gonna add my first fence, and it's literally click to start, click to stop. I want to go there. I want to go all the way back. I want to go over, back down to the house. And I think there's probably like a little gap. There's probably like a 4-foot gap there. All right. Not the prettiest drawing in the world. I get it, but I'm using my fingers on this instead of a mouse. So, but we're going to need some gates in this. So we're going to need a double gate on the driveway side. You always want a single gate as well on the other side. Just because if you're over here mowing, you need to come over here and mow. You don't want to go all the way around the house. You want a single gate over there. All right. Right. All right. So that's our fence line. So then we'll click next. Now, so what this is, everything before this is completely my salesman. So what we've done at this part is we're seeing all the options that we've added into my salesman as options that we offer as a fence company. So that all happens on the back end, where actually, so that Rachel, you talk to Rachel, my salesman, she asks you what different types of fence, what different materials, and they'll go find pictures for this. But let's say we want a wood fence, and then automatically it'll shrink down to only the options that have anything to do with wood fence. And let's say I'm looking for a cedar fence. Okay. Well, now we've only got 3 options. We got a privacy with steel post, a Shadowbox with steel post, or a picket fence with steel post. We want a privacy fence. 4, 6, or 8 foot tall. These are all options we entered. Let's say 6 feet tall. Next, and it gives us a price range. So if we were to do this fence, then we would likely come in at the $12,230 to the $14,160 price range. Now, if you guys are tuned in before, I'm pretty passionate about the fact that we need to abide by any and all laws and regulations, right? And one of those is the antitrust laws, specifically the Sherman Act, which basically outlines outlines fair trade and fair trade practices. One of the violations that a fence company or any company can violate is what's called price comparison. So this is all the guys on Facebook groups saying, hey, what do you guys build a 6-foot privacy fence for? And then some guy will say, well, I do it for X amount of dollars, an exact dollar amount. And then everyone will start comparing their prices. Guys, in the letter of the law, if you read the letter of the law, that is a federal offense. Price comparison is word by word exactly what that is. This is not price comparison. It is a price range. And this is open to the public. Anyone from anywhere can find this on my website. This isn't me telling you where you should price your fence. This isn't me telling you where I price my fence. It's a price range, and where if we were to do this fence, likely where it would come in, and it's all public, what do they call it? Public sector information. So that's my quick ditty, because I am the guy in the Facebook group saying you guys can't be talking about prices period. Also, definitely not in a public setting. This has come up in the past with fence guys that caught federal charges for violating the Sherman Act and the antitrust laws, and it turns out pretty bad for them. Anyway, so say I see this price and I go, yeah, you know what? That's about what I was planning on. That was about what I was planning on spending for a fence. You'd hit next. And this is where they would give us all their information, their first name, last name, email address, phone number, and then they get to pick which is the best time for us to reach out for them. Mornings, afternoons, after 3 to 6, evenings, 6 to 9, anytime, or hey, just send me an email. Don't call me. So basically what this will do is when we enter in all of this, when the customer enters in all this information and presses next, it packages all this information up and sends it to our office. So we get their complete contact information, their email address, their phone number, the best time to reach out to them, so that if they work night shift, we're not calling them first thing in the morning, waking them up. And we see this. We see that they are interested in getting 264 foot of wood privacy fence with steel posts, cedar material, 6 foot tall, what price they were quoted. And then we can pull it up and we can see the exact drawing that they drew out. So that if we're looking at this, we'll go, well, now, just so we know, when we jump on the phone and we have a conversation about your project, we know that you didn't go all the way back to the back, that you left this little garage outside of the fence, which is perfectly fine, but we just want to make sure that was intentional. Because what we also do is an additional step is we would then go on to the county assessor's website. We live in Greene County, Missouri, so we'd go on the Greene County assessor's website, pull up this particular property, and it'll show us the lot lines and lot dimensions. And so we would verify, yes, that does look like their lot, but we would verify, but their property does go all the way back to this alley. So they didn't include that. We'd bring that up in the conversation to make sure that wasn't just an oversight on their part. But yeah. So that's kind of a my salesman in a nutshell. We like it a lot. We like using it on. It's actually a mandatory first step in getting a fencing proposal from us is to use that. Now, we've been using the My Salesman tool for, probably 5 or 6 years, I bet. But as kind of it's kind of an option, right? So if you wanted to use it, if you weren't sure about your fence and you wanted to use it, then you could go on there and they'll tell you. But we didn't have that as a mandatory step until pandemic rolls around. And then everyone is very worried, rightly so, about, virus transmission and sending people to the house and interacting with them. And I didn't feel great about putting our staff, our team members, in contact with that many people in a day. I mean, when we were doing in-person estimates, we were doing 5, 6, 7 proposals a day, estimates a day, where we were meeting with 5, 6, 7 people each and every day, 5 days a week. So, should one of our team members get sick, they could share it with quite a few people before they even realized that they were sick. So we implemented it as a mandatory first step. Now, does it work for every project? No, it doesn't work for brand new houses. It doesn't work for houses with a lot of tree cover. But for probably 90% of our projects, it works super well. And it's accurate. It's accurate. I wish Rachel was here with us. I think it's accurate down to like 2 or 3 feet. I mean, it is scary accurate. What we did before we really started implementing it as a mandatory first step, we took our 2019 data, which is the quote tools that were submitted in 2019 compared to the actual installed footage. And these things are like 98% accurate. From the footage they gave on the quote tool matched within 98% the footage the actual footage installed, which is it was close enough for me to decide, hey, it's worth it when we're not sending team members out to 5, 6, 7 houses each day. So we're freeing them up to actually do quite a few more proposals in a day. We're saving fuel. It has so many benefits that a 98% accuracy is absolutely fine with me. But yeah, hope that was helpful. If that wasn't helpful, let me know, and we could certainly run through it. All right, let's see. That's right, Wade. I'm a fence guy. I'm not in IT, which is scary because I'm the guy. So in our new office, we hired a company to run all the IT infrastructure, all the Cat 6 cabling and all that. But I'm the guy that's hooking everything up. So watching a lot of YouTube. There's a lot of great YouTube channels out there for IT and the networking type stuff. So we're specifically using hardware from a company called Ubiquity. It's pretty straightforward. There's a lot of great videos out there. But anyway, to your point, I am a fence guy. I'm not an IT professional. Given skyrocketed lumber prices currently due to COVID, do you believe prices for red cedar will come back down? And how long till you believe that will happen? All right, will they come back down? Yes, probably. Will they come back down to pre-pandemic levels? I don't think there's a shot. I don't think there's a chance they come down. And the reason I say that is check out the treated pine market, right? So pre-pandemic, you could buy a 4x4x8 pressure-treated pine, ground contact rated, what we use in fencing. You could buy them for like $750, $775 sometimes. During the pandemic, during the lumber shortage, the treated pine shortage, they went up to close to $20 here in Southwest Missouri. So from $750, or we'll call it $775 to be gracious on the high side. So they went from $775 to $20 a post, which is outrageous. We quit offering treated pine posts because there is zero chance that post value-wise is worth $20. It just isn't. Now they have come back down. Now, currently, you can buy them for around $12 a post. So are they at the pandemic level prices of $20? No. But they're also not back down to the post-pandemic prices. And I don't think they'll come back down. I mean, these lumber mills are to a point where people are buying them up left and right at $12. They don't have much motivation at all to bring it back down to $750. So the Western Red Cedar fence pickets that we're buying, they haven't come back down any. So they've jumped almost 80 cents a picket per picket from pre-pandemic prices. And there's no hope in sight for them coming back down. I reached out to our lumber supplier last week just to get a feel for what they had in stock, and then he just laughed because no one has anything in stock, it seems like. And then what the pricing is, and I asked him so we got a price increase on that phone call because we were paying 40 cents above pre-pandemic. And he said, no, the price is now 80 cents above. Okay, well, when do you see that coming back down to earth? Because I see Treated Pine's already done it somewhat. And he said, I'll let you know when I know. So I'm not super hopeful. Will it come back down? Probably, but not nearly like it won't come back down to pre-pandemic if it follows the same trend that Treated Pine has. Ron says, for customers who don't want to spend the extra money on metal posts with 4x4 posts, do you recommend 4x6s for corners or gate posts? So, in a wood fence, corner post and line post are the same. So it sounds like you're thinking kind of with the mentality of a chain link post, which is common. A lot of people do, where the corner posts take a lot of the strain from that chain link fence. But in a wood fence, every post shares the load, right? So your corner posts don't carry additional load or additional weight above and beyond what a line post would. So your corner post would be the same as your line post. Now your gate posts are different. When we were installing wood posts for our gate post, we would use a 6x6 post. The thinking that there's enough mass there that it will prevent, to a certain degree, warping and twisting. And it does, but they still move. 6x6 posts still warp and twist. They still lean. The gate, especially the gate that you're talking about, 8 foot tall and 7 foot wide per leaf, I think I would hesitate to use a wood post on that simply because over time, I really believe that you'll have more issues with that than you would with the steel post. I see those posts moving if they're a wood post. But if you're set on it, your line post and corner post can be the same. Your gate post, I would use a minimum of a 6x6 post. Wade says, I don't think Western Red Cedar will come down anytime soon with all the fires. Well, a lot of it was destroyed. You know what, Wade? So I didn't even take that into account when I was talking about this. You're right. So a lot of our cedar came from Northern California. And I know California in general has had quite a lot of wildfires. And of course, I guess there's also other wildfires that aren't as well known. But I was just talking about really pandemic effect pricing. But you're probably right there too. It's all supply and demand, guys. So if the supply of a given product is low, but demand still is high, the price is going to go up and it'll stay up. I would love to see Western Red Cedar come down in price. That means we would build more of it. But I don't own a mill. I can't control the prices. I probably wouldn't want to own a mill because it's one of those things to where no matter where you are in the supply chain, it's always someone else's fault, right? So the guys at the mill say, well, it's not our fault. We can't get the logs. We're having to pay twice as much for the log as we used to. And the logger is saying, well, yeah, but I don't affect the price of the log because I got to get guys in there to get the lumber. And there's not as much of this logging available for me to log, for whether it's environmental concerns or what have you. It always seems to be someone else's problem. But anyway, Wade, I'm with you. I hope we see a pullback on Western Red Cedar pricing. I would love to build nothing but Western Red Cedar. I like it a lot. We've tried different types of cedar. We've tried Eastern Red Cedar. I like Eastern Red Cedar. So it came now, like I said, we're in Southwest Missouri. So most of the mills for Eastern Red Cedar are in Arkansas. I love it as a board. It is great. It's actually technically a juniper. It's not a cedar. There are some guys that will jump in the comments and let us know that Eastern Red Cedar is not actually a true cedar. This is why I say it's a juniper. I get it, but it's called Eastern Red Cedar. It looks phenomenal. This board looks so nice. The problem is they can't mill the things fast enough. So in the summertime, we need a truckload approximately every month. It might be every 3 weeks if we're really going hard and strong. And the mills we're using just don't have that kind of capacity. When you talk to the mill, it's because they say they can't get the logs fast enough. So I mean, it's a supply chain issue up and down. So we tried Eastern Red Cedar, loved it, couldn't get enough of it. We tried Incense Cedar. It was wildly abundant. There's a lot. There was pre-pandemic. There was a ton of it in the market. The problem is the quality of the boards. We were seeing a lot of split boards when they showed up to us, much less when we went and installed them. And split boards aren't something that we warranty. We can't warranty. I don't create the boards. I'm not in control of the quality of these boards. So I can't warranty something that I don't control. So we were getting a lot of upset customers that had split pickets with the Incense Cedar. So we landed back at Western Red Cedar. We've used Western Red Cedar in the past. We knew it was a good board. It's more expensive than, say, the Incense Cedar. But it's a better quality board. So, yeah, I would love for the price to come down. I would love to build more Western Red Cedar fence. Ron says, weather here in southern Mississippi, similar to Florida, definitely more humid. We've had decent cold weather. Lows were averaging in low 40s. So that'd be nice. Right now, it's low 60s and storming, but your Arctic blast is coming Sunday. Okay, I was going to say 60 degrees sounds pretty good to a guy that's sitting at 18. Or where was in Minneapolis is sitting at 0. But your cold snap's coming. So it sounds like everybody's getting a little bit of it. With fencing wood prices still increasing here in South Mississippi anyways, how much are the Postmaster posts now? Ones you would use for a 6-foot privacy fence. So it sounds like they vary. So it sounds like they vary. I believe retail price hovers around $30 a post, $28 to $30, which is why, when we're talking about a retail price of a wood post at 4x4x8 pressure treated pine at $20, doesn't make any sense to buy a $20 pine post or a $30 steel post. It's a steel post all day, every day. Even I firmly believe, even with wood posts that treated pine at roughly $12 a post and the steel post at roughly $30, I still believe there's that much value or more in the steel post than in the wood post. And the reason being, think about this. So we're seeing wood posts raw. We're replacing wood posts now that were installed 5 to 8 years ago for rot and insects, mostly rot. So now the steel posts are warranted for life. They've got a lifetime warranty against rust, corrosion, wind damage for up to, I believe, 72 miles an hour. I'd want to double check that for sure, but I believe it's 72. So what rust and corrosion are namely, I mean, it's why posts fail, right? Is whether rot or basically the integrity of the post is degraded to such a point where it can't hold the fence up. So if you look at a 20-year period, well, these fence posts need replaced, I don't know, 3 or 4 times, if we're saying every 5 to 8 years. If we're replacing a post, typically call it $100 a post to yank the thing out, reset a new one. So per post, I mean, over the course of 20 years, you're probably $300 a post into this thing after you've replaced them. Now, if you're replacing 20 posts, is it $100 a post then? No. But it's typically never 20 posts in a row that you're replacing. It's typically 1 or 2, 3 or 4. So you would be significantly ahead by choosing steel post over the life of the fence. Up front, they are more expensive. They're twice as much. But the first time that post rots and you pay $100 to replace it, well, now all of a sudden they're a third or more cheaper than that wood post was. So, yep. That's where I would be on it. And that's why I'm passionate about steel posts. Now, we use Postmaster Plus. You can also use Lifetime, a Gregory post. There's other posts out there that are a purpose built. They all pretty much imitate the Postmaster. But yeah, I'm pretty passionate about it. What's up, Chris Steele? Chris says we are in our primarily pine market. We're strongly considering making the steel post switch as well. Makes so much more sense. I couldn't agree more, Chris. I mean, it's a big step to make. I mean, because your price per foot of fence is going to go up and you'll build less fence because of it, but you're building a higher quality fence. So then all of a sudden you become known as a company that builds higher quality fences. And the conversation goes something to the effect of, Mr. and Miss Customer, I completely understand that you got lower bids. Our fencing is priced proportional to the value that we give. I can't speak to other companies, but I know for a fact that this fence that I quoted you is priced accurately for the level of for the level of value that it gives. Basically saying, hey, I'm giving you a much better fence than these other guys, and it's priced accordingly. So will you build less fences? Sure. But you're building quality fences. Now, some fence guys will not install Postmaster post or any steel post because they make good money on repairs and replacing these posts. So if you make money replacing posts, why would you install a post that's not going to need to be replaced? Well, you wouldn't. And so they'll rail against steel posts, against the price and this and that, because they like making money on replacing those posts. But steel posts are the way for me. Curious how you guys counterweight your cantilever gates. Well, it's all the way to the gate. So you have a third of the length of the gate opening in the gate tail. That makes sense. So, or half the distance. Half the distance of a gate is a counterweight. So, no, it's a third. Guys, it's been a long week. So on a 30-foot opening, you'd have a 10-foot tail and make that a 40-foot gate. That way, the gate itself, the tail on this gate is counterweighting itself. So you don't actually add counterweights to it. It's just the gate itself, it's heavy enough to where it counterweights itself. And it's all in how you set the post and the cantilever rollers, right? Wait, says I set the steel post with 2x4 jigs so that when we hang the cross members, there's no cutting. Right on the money, Wade. Absolutely. Now, sometimes it's not going to work. You'll get to trees or you'll get to utility lines or odd stuff happens. I get it. But for the most part, setting them with a jig, a lot like we do for ornamental iron fence, right? So for ornamental iron, we use a jig to set so that we're not cutting panels, so that the panels will fit. We're doing the same thing for wood posts so that we're not having to cut each and every 2x4. Now, it's a little trickier to use on an incline or a decline on a sloped line of fence, but it can still be done. Good on you for figuring that out, Wade. Bo Butler's with us. What is up, Bo? It's so interesting how the markets vary so much on how they build fence. Here in Denver, Colorado, all we install is Western Red Cedar. No one stock anything besides cedar here. I agree. So I did a video, oh gosh, it's been quite a while ago, basically saying to the effect of why your fence should be installed with cedar. And I got a lot of feedback that, hey, man, cedar's just not in our market. We are completely treated pine. No one installs cedar here. Everyone always does treated pine. And I have to wonder, is that because no one really pushes cedar? Is everyone so worried to step out of line and be the higher priced fence company that no one even offers it? I mean, I have to think that's what's going on, because you can't tell me that you don't. Everyone always says that their market is so much different. The thing is, the secret here is they're really not. Now, markets can look differently. Can look different. I get it, but they're always somewhat the same too. And what I mean is, you will find customers that appreciate quality, that will appreciate having the opportunity to have a nicer fence than the other folks in the neighborhood even. You get a lot of different clients, and I think you find clients that would prefer a higher quality fence. So, Bo, I absolutely agree. Our preferred fence, and the fence that we're installing right now, is a cedar picket, cedar rail on steel post. It's our go-to. We're doing away with installing wood posts because steel posts are a better value for the money. You never have to replace them. Now, I'm also kind of shooting myself in the foot as a fence guy because now I'm not going to go back and replace that fence in 8 to 10 years. But it's a value proposition I'm fine with, because there's always going to be new houses. There's always going to be fences to build. I would rather be the guy that offers the higher value, the higher quality fence, than the guys that all offer treated pine. Ron says, yeah, I completely agree with the cost versus longevity comparing metal versus wood, but some customers want to be low as possible on cost, even after explaining. I get it, Ron. And hey, not every customer is our ideal customer. And we can't service every client out there. And we're in a smaller market. The Springfield metro market is like 120,000 people. It's relatively small when you compare it to a Dallas, a Kansas City, an LA, New York, whatever. We're a small market, but I still can't build all the fences here. No one can. I mean, no one company could take care of a market this big. So they're not all my ideal clients. We get people all the time that says, well, I got a bid that's half your price. Probably so. Probably so. Now, they're not using the same materials. And also, they're not using the same labor. We'll use qualified craftsmen to do the installations rather than day laborers or subcontractors. So, it's all relative to the money that you get what you pay for. Right? It's that old adage. And not every client's going to be our ideal client. All right, guys, we have once again caught up to the chat. If you guys have questions or comments about fencing business or YouTube, Dan, if you're here, I'll be happy to answer any of your YouTube questions. I'll be happy to help you guys however I can. There's 16 of you watching, and I appreciate that a whole lot. If you guys haven't said hi yet, drop a comment in the comments below. Let me know you're here by saying hi. Let me know where you're from so I can kind of create a mental image of where our viewership is right now. All right. Let's see. Ron says, and for that 8-foot tall, 7-foot wide gate, would I still use the same metal post, just longer in length to set deeper in the ground? Not sure if you're supposed to use a different metal post for gates. I would use, so if we're talking about 8-foot tall, 7-foot wide, I'd probably use a 3-inch Schedule 40 post. You can buy commercial hardware that'll fit a 3-inch post, and the 3-inch Schedule 40 is going to be pretty stout post. If you're worried about it deflecting, I probably wouldn't be as long as it's not the end of a fence line. As long as you have fence on either side supporting it, I think you would be fine. If you're worried about deflection, if you're worried about that post bending, you could fill it with concrete as well, just to stiffen it up a little bit more. But I would use a 3-inch Schedule 40 CS40 post on that. Shane says, have you ever heard of cedar having some kind of insect repelling characteristics? Absolutely. Cedar oil itself is insect resistant. So it's why they have cedar lined closets to repel moths and such from out of closets. And it's why, in horse stalls, you'll see cedar shavings because they keep bugs out from, getting into the horse mess. Cedar oil itself has insect repellent characteristics. It also has rot repelling, like a rot resistant characteristics. It's why you see, if you're using a cedar post, you'd see a cedar post last longer than a treated pine. The treatment in treated pine is trying to emulate, to some degree, the cedar oil because it has rot-resistant characteristics. But to your question, yes, cedar oil does have insect-repelling characteristics as well. Yeah, so Kenny's question, curious to your thoughts on how lumber prices will affect other markets, steel, stain, etc. Example, will stain costs increase as people get sticker shock or switch to iron fences? So I don't know that fence materials will directly affect the price of stain. What is going to affect the price of stain is the price of oil. So because, Stain and Steel Experts is an oil-based stain, right? Now, it's not crude oil, don't get me wrong, but it's an oil derivative. So as you see the price of crude and oil in general increase, then I think you'll probably see the price of stain increase. I hope not, Caleb and Ashley, if you're watching, but I think it could happen. I really do. Now, we've already seen to your example, your example is twofold. So stain costs increase as people get sticker shock. Now, what we have been seeing is people switching from wood into other materials. So, and that's the reason why I firmly believe right now that we're in a cedar shortage, is because we were in a pine shortage 4 months ago. It pushed people into other markets. We saw it. You saw people just stop offering pine, or if they were offering pine, they're offering it at a price that was roughly the price of cedar, which is bonkers. Again, let's talk about value, right? Let's talk about the value of treated pine should be significantly less than the value of cedar. So if you have to price it the same or similar, doesn't make any sense. So that was pushing people into other markets. So the pine shortage pushed people into cedar. The cedar shortage, I believe, is pushing people into other avenues. So we can talk about ornamental iron and steel, same thing, Joe. Ornamental steel and aluminum. We can also talk about vinyl-coated chain link, but right now, vinyl-coated chain link is getting harder to find. We got a letter from Master Halco, was it last week, I think, saying that they were not going to be producing vinyl coated in in green and brown, and black vinyl coated would have a significant lead time. So they're telling us vinyl coated chain link now is going to be getting harder to find. So it's starting to go into a shortage of supply. So I think you're going to see a lot of pressure in the ornamental steel and aluminum markets that are already feeling pressure. I mean, they're already feeling some of that pressure from people that came from the pine market, skipped the cedar market, and went straight to steel and aluminum. I think you're going to see more of that, unfortunately. Now, what we're hearing is a lot of these steel and aluminum suppliers aren't taking on new dealers. And in a case of, who is it? It is, in one of the Facebook groups, they're talking about a aluminum and vinyl supplier that was actually turning away dealers. They were trimming down their dealership numbers so that they could continue to sell to their top tier dealers, or the dealers that bought the most from them. So yeah, I think you're going to start seeing this affect the price of ornamental iron and ornamental aluminum. I mean, it already is. You're already seeing a price increase there. And suppliers that sell the ornamental steel and aluminum are giving 5-day prices, no more. Master Halco in that same letter said their prices are 2 days. You can get a 2-day price. Now, how am I supposed to take a 2-day price to my customers? The irony here is it takes them 3 days to get the price to you, right? So we submit pricing information to them, and it takes them 3 to 4 days to get us the pricing back. So which 2 days is it from? Surely not the 2 days that you took getting the bid together for me. But yeah, it's getting really nuts out there. So, but I really believe that you're going to start seeing an increase in price, even more than what we're currently seeing in steel and aluminum. I hope we don't, but we're preparing for what happens if we do. Sambo, what is up, Sambo Jones? Hello from JFH. Sambo, what is JFH? I'm not, I probably should know this. As soon as you say it, I'm probably going to go, of course, I knew that. But why don't you let me know what JFH means so I can picture it in my mind exactly where you are in this wild world of fencing. Bo says, absolutely on the steel post. I hear you. I've got sleep on my mind too. So we got this little one, a new baby fencer in the family that's a little over a month. So my whole life right now is revolved around trying to get enough sleep. But our price for 4x4x8 Cedar is just wow. So 4x4x8 Cedar is just about $26, $28 per post. The Postmaster are I think, about $28 a Halco right now. Not a sponsor. I just get thirsty. Yeah, that's where I was thinking the retail was at on those Postmasters, about $28, $30 a post. That's the thing is, so now there's no value in a Cedar post. There isn't. If it's the same price or within $2 of being a Postmaster steel post, but with a Postmaster post, you get the lifetime warranty and it's a stronger post in general, there's no value in the Cedar. So that's what got us out of pine. When pine posts were $20 a post, it didn't make any sense. So certainly not. Now, Cedar's a better post. Don't get me wrong. It does have improved value over a pine post, both in looks and longevity, but it doesn't make any sense to use those over a Postmaster at these prices. Now, I mean, if Cedar posts were, if Cedar posts were $12 to $14 or something like that, and a Postmaster is $28, okay, now you've got a conversation on value versus cost. But if they're the similar price, no way. What's up? Matt Nichols says, wood has gone up where I'm at in Massachusetts. It's gone up quite a bit here, but so has vinyl. Yeah, I think in talking with guys here on the channel, actually, so what was it? Probably a couple months ago, we talked to Tony Thornton, the executive director of the American Fence Association. And that was one of the questions I had for him, just because he talks to guys from all over the United States. Said, what are you hearing across the board? He said, materials are up. I mean, coast to coast, it's the cost of wood material is going up quite a bit. And I've heard the same for vinyl. So we don't install, I don't want to say we don't install vinyl. We install probably 1 or 2, 3 fences a year in vinyl, usually in conjunction with other types of fence or something like that. There usually is a reason we're installing it. But I mean, the same suppliers that supply us regular material or this fencing material we use also supply vinyl. And that's what I see in the price list that come through is that vinyl prices are through the roof and availability is slim to none. Unless you want just a plain white fence, if you want any sort of color or texture, forget about it. It's just, they just kind of laugh. Wade says, my father-in-law is part owner of a fence supply wholesaler. Steel price right now are so crazy. Aluminum will be an issue again this year. Yeah, so, Wade, you've probably got better insight than I do on this. What I had heard from a steel producer was that, so this all relates to ore delivery. So raw ore, steel ore. They got less steel ore in fourth quarter. They got something like 40% of what they ordered in ore. So they were shorted by 60%. Of what they should have gotten to produce their orders. So at the time, when was this conversation? I had this conversation in January, so a month ago. They were still working on third quarter delivery of ore. So, next quarter, they're going to be out of that ore. They're going to be getting into the ore they've got from they delivered fourth quarter, and they're only going to have 30 to 40% of what they ordered. So I think you're right. I think you're going to see steel prices increase. I think you're going to see aluminum prices increase as well. Oh, okay. Well, what's up? Okay. See, I knew just as soon as you said it, I know just for him. Very good. So we have a fellow Springfieldian here with us. For those of you outside the market, just for him is a great gentleman's store. So it's kind of the name, as the name says, just for him. It's got all sorts of gifts and useful things that guys like, beard combs and cigars primarily. They sell a lot of cigars. That's why I go in there. I like smoking cigars. They've got nice cigars and a nice cigar lounge. They also have like cool custom hats. They've got just all sorts of stuff guys like. I like doing my shopping in there. So what is up, Samba? All right, guys, we're caught up again in the chat. So if you got more questions, comments, leave them in the chat below. We'll talk about anything from fence to business to YouTube, etc. For those of you just joining us, we're also, I'm going to be speaking as you guys see in the crawler below, I'm going to be speaking at the Stainless Steel Expert Staining University 2021 that is teamed up with Sean King's Fence University, Mr. Fence, not Fence University, Mr. Fence Academy. Come on, Joe. It's at the end of this month. So it's coming up, what's it, a couple weeks now? Coming up pretty quick. So I'll be speaking on Thursday. It's Thursday and Friday. Thursday is the staining side. Friday is the fencing side. We'll have Kenny Dugan was here. He's probably still here with us. And he'll be speaking on the stain side. He spoke last year. I learned quite a lot from just sitting back and watching Kenny, just watching his technique. He's a great guy at explaining things. He makes it to where even I can understand it. And let me tell you, if I can understand it, anybody can understand it. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to meeting you guys there. If you guys like more information on Staining University 2021, teamed up with Fence Academy, there's a link in the description below this video with a little bit of information. Also, you can sign up online. It's completely free. There's no cost, but they do need to know you're coming so they can accommodate. They can figure out how many people they're trying to accommodate at any given time. So for more information to sign up, send the link in the description below. Look at that. I'm starting to sound like a YouTube guy. Link in the description below. S. Andy says, recently discovered my 35-year-old chain link is sitting on top of the gas supply line. Want to change to wood? Can I use existing posts to support the wood? Boy, what a conundrum that is, right? So, I mean, I wouldn't. When we're using a steel post to build a wood fence, even so, the post you're using for chain link fence around is probably a 4-foot fence. If it's really, like he says, 35 years old, it could be a 42-inch fence. Is what we saw, at least in our market. We see fences that are 30, 40, 50 years old. They're usually 42 inches tall. So the posts obviously aren't going to be tall enough. You would need to add to them anyway, but they're going to be too light to hold well a 6-foot privacy fence, especially if it's on the gas supply line. You don't want that post flexing at all, or that at least that concrete slug. I mean, there's a chance that gas line is now incorporated into the cement slug, right? Maybe they found it and they poured around it. We've seen stuff like that. So we pulled up a post. Gosh, it's been 2 or 3 years ago now. No, it's been longer than that. It's probably 5 or 6 years ago now. We had the utilities located, and the utility showed the utilities crossing the fence line. So that, well, we're going to have to figure that out. but the fence went where the fence went, and the customer signed the waiver. So we pulled, and it was replacing existing fence. So now keep in mind, at least in the state of Missouri, I know this varies state by state, but in the state of Missouri, from the line where they've marked where this utility line could be, they have a 2-foot margin of error on either side of this line. So you have a 4-foot gap where this utility could be. They think it's where they painted, but there's a margin of error just in case. So this line, the paint line was almost 2 foot away from this post. Wasn't quite 2 foot, but it was almost 2 foot. So we pulled up this post. Our plan was we were going to move the fence posts, right? So this was a corner post. Usually what we would do is we'd cut the post off at grade, move the fence post anyway. This was a corner post. It had to get pulled. Our plan was we were going to move the fence further up the house to get away from this utility line so that the utility ran right in between two posts. So even with that 4-foot margin of error, the posts are still 8 feet apart. So we would be fine. Still had them sign the waiver because you never know. But anyway, we pulled up this post, and inside that thing was a bundle of phone. It was just like some sort of phone supply line or something. Yanked it out because whoever poured that post, whoever set that post 20 some odd years ago, found it, didn't move their hole, and instead just poured concrete. And so they poured the lines into that concrete slug. So then when we pulled that concrete slug, brought the lines up with it. So I say all that to say, you don't want to disturb that concrete slug at all, that footer at all. If it were me, I would cut it, leave it, and then move your line somewhere else, your fence line somewhere else. You don't want to mess with that at all. Kenny says, time to switch to bamboo and hemp fences. So bamboo's a thing. We offer a fence track fences, or we've built fence track fence systems in the past. We offer it as an offering. And for displays, for fence displays, we filled it with bamboo before, which is a really cool look. We got a lot of attention at the home show. Lots of people loved to talk about it, but nobody actually wanted it in their yard. Hemp fence, I don't know how in the world you'd get that to work, but so your comment was made in jest, the LOL at the end. It's a funny joke, but in all honesty, I think we're going to have to start looking into alternate material sources. So, there's composite, right? You've got the Trex system. You have other composites as well. Trex has a fence specific system, but they're all priced well. Before pre-pandemic pricing, they were priced out of the market. We couldn't offer them. They were just so expensive. Now, maybe they have a place, right? Maybe we're going to talk about composite fences. Composite decks are becoming more of a thing because of the treated pine shortage. It could be composite fences become a thing, or hemp fence. Kenny, you could be the first one. You could pioneer the hemp fence industry, and I'm just so excited to watch you do that. Which says my brother works at the ore mines in northern Minnesota. They have the ore just sitting there, and then the port is full in Duluth. Something political holding up. Yeah, that's crazy because, here's the thing. Do I want to trust that the guy I'm talking to, the steel manufacturer I'm talking to, is telling the truth? Yes, I want to believe him, and that could be what he was told. All I know is what he had said was they got 40% of the delivery. Now, maybe some of it's sitting somewhere. Maybe the ore prices are so high that the manufacturers aren't buying them at that price. I don't know. Or maybe he's just saying it. Could be. I haven't physically put my eyes on their ore stockpiles, but it's interesting to know that that the ore's sitting there and the port in Duluth is full. Interesting. What's up, Jar? Is it Jar? Lavold? Hey, man, love your work. Any thoughts on low entry startup with low investment? How is fencing, staining, deck cleaning versus landscaping, etc.? Cheers, man. Jar, thank you for joining the channel. I hope I didn't completely butcher your name. I try not to, but, I am a person. So, how is fencing, staining, deck cleaning versus landscaping as far as investment? So, So staining would probably, so Kenny, why don't you weigh in on this as well if you're still with us? Staining would probably be a lower cost of entry than fencing would. And the only reason I say that is fencing, typically you need a truck, a trailer, some equipment. Now, do you have to have it? No. You can dig these fence posts by hand, but to be competitive in the marketplace, you almost have to. To be a stain contractor, you still need stain equipment. You know, we use an airless spray system. You'd still need one of those, but it's a lot less expensive than a piece of equipment. You would still need your masking. You would still need all that, but I have to think the cost of entry is lower. That being said, you can really do some damage to some property, and this goes for fencing as well, without the proper training. You know, so we use an airless spray system without a really good understanding of wind drift, where the wind is going to take your overspray, and how close you are to the house, and how you need to prep a house, and all that. You can do some damage. You know, you could really cost yourself some money if, you know, the neighbor's Beamer is parked outside and some spray gets on it and you don't see it and you don't clean it, and it can get away from you, is what I'm saying. But I would have to think the staining would probably have a lower cost of entry. I would really recommend coming to a training. You know, if it's the university this year, that's fine. If it's other training, that's fine too. In-person training, whatever. I would recommend you get some training and add that into your cost of entry. Just plan on doing that from the get-go. But the fencing side, it's expensive to get into if you're going to do it right. I mean, both the businesses, you're still going to have your insurance expense, your workman's compensation insurance. That's a common expense on either side. Now, I want to say, so staining, I think, is categorized in workman's comp as paint, exterior painting. And so it's a lower workman's compensation class code, a lower cost class code than, say, like fence installation. So you probably have some lower workman's comp insurance. But it's still an expense you need to plan on paying. I'd have to think staining would probably be a lower cost of entry. Bearcat Steve, with the volatility of material pricing, I've started putting a 30-day acceptance start of project limit on quotes. I advise about the issue so customers aren't surprised, but what are your thoughts? Yeah, so right now our prices are good for 5 days, just because our manufacturers are only giving us 5-day guarantee on the prices. One manufacturer, you know, or supplier, Master Halco, is giving 2-day price, which is just bananas anyway. But and we say that's 5 days, not 5 days from our bid to your acceptance. That's 5 days from our bid to your deposit. Because when your deposit comes in, we are ordering the materials to lock it in. We might be 3 or 4 weeks out on installing it, but I'm locking that price in immediately as you give me the deposit. If you send us the deposit 15 days later, before I cash that check, we're going to have to rebid that project. Now, that doesn't mean that prices automatically change. A lot of times they haven't, but we're still going to have to reprice that project and talk about the new price before we deposit that check and order your material. I mean, at that point, once you order the material and lock in the material pricing, I mean, the deposit should deposit, at least here in Missouri, it's different in other states. We take a 50% deposit, which covers the cost of material. So by getting the deposit, we can order the material immediately and it might sit on our lot for 4 or 5 weeks if it's in the middle of summer. But that's the plan moving forward. Is we order material as soon as the check gets in, but we only can honor the prices for 5 days because that's as long as the manufacturer will guarantee the pricing to us. I hope that helps. Ron's clarifying. So you recommend a 3-inch schedule 40 over the Postmaster gate post. So for the gates, I would. On something like you're talking about, it's 8 foot tall, 7 foot wide, I would. Now, the hardware we use so understand what you're talking about is not a standard gate. It is excessively large. Can it be done? Sure. But it's not a regular size post or gate. So for a regular gate, we would use a 2.5-inch CS40, because that works with our hardware. The hardware we use is called Shark Hinge and Shark Latches. They're manufactured by Forney Fence out of Texas. They bolt to round posts, both on the hinge side and on the latch side. So we still don't use the Postmaster gate post just because they're not compatible with the hardware. The gate posts are square, and it's not compatible with the hardware we use. So, but on an excessively big gate such as yours, I wouldn't recommend the gate post either. I mean, it's the gate you're talking about building is going to be incredibly heavy. So, all right, guys, once again, we've caught up in the chat. Let me know as you guys have questions, comments, otherwise. Yeah, we'll go from there. Like I said, if you guys are just joining us, there's 12 of you here, so I appreciate you guys tuning in with us. We're an hour and a half into this thing. We got an hour left, and I'd be happy to answer any and all of your questions. It could be fencing, business. Hey, we could talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. That's why I like doing these live Q&As, because I can tailor the content to exactly what you guys are wanting to talk about, what you guys want to learn about, rather than, you know, a talking head video where I sit and discuss. We do those. You know, we produce videos every week, but I'd like this to be more custom tailored to what you guys have going on and the questions that you guys specifically have, and just kind of riff on that. So, yeah. Okay, Kenny's weighing in on the low cost of entry. Without getting into overhead, insurance, etc., I'd have to call it a draw between building versus staining. Okay, very good. So the only reason I thought staining was because, well, I'm probably not comparing it correctly. So what I'm comparing it with us building a fence, but thinking about truck, trailer, and equipment, that sort of thing. But you don't have to have that. You don't. It's not necessary. I don't know. It is necessary to build fence at the production levels that we build at, but for someone just getting started, you don't need all that. And here's the thing too: you could also rent the equipment, you know, for building fence. You could go to a rental supply store and rent a Toro dingo. Pretty much all of them have the dingos, and it's actually what we use as a company. You could rent one of those, and you could, yeah. So I bet you're right, Kenny, and you're right. So there's a lot to get into as far as overhead insurance, and a lot of that's going to vary contractor to contractor. You know, Sean and I talked about this last week in our live Q&A, in that, you know, if our companies were exactly the same size and in the same market, our costs would still look different. Our overhead costs would look different. Our insurance costs, depending on which insurance we went with, what exactly we had covered, what we have built into overhead, what kind of, you know, some support staff we have. I mean, you can get kind of crazy with that, but yeah, very good. So Kenny says that staining and installation are probably neck and neck. Ron saying, I might start introducing the metal post for wooden privacy fences since cost gap has narrowed. I would. I mean, we started using Postmaster posts quite a long time ago, and I wish we started using them sooner, or at least offering them sooner. It's a better quality fence. You know, walking away from it, that fence is as close to lifetime as it's going to get. I mean, lifetime is a term that people throw around, but, you know, whose lifetime are we talking about, right? And are we talking about, you know, lifetime is a weird word, but you're building a quality fence that you know you're not going to have to worry about, you know, long term. Yeah, the Shark brand is what we use, or the Shark hardware is what we use. I like it. They're not a sponsor. I pay full price. I buy them just like everybody else does, and I go through the same shortages everyone else does. You know, last time I called up our rep there at Forney, and I said, "Hey, I need X hinges, X latches, X, you know, all that, single gate latches, double gate latches," and we got about half of what we ordered just because they didn't have enough to go around, and they didn't want to sell all of what they had to us and have to short other people. So, but I say all that to say I'm not sponsored. I buy them just like everybody else, but they're materials that I enjoy using. I mean, they work well for our business. Yeah, you can rent equipment, have material delivered, etc. You can build a fence with clamshells and hammer. Yeah, absolutely. Staining you can use a pump up sprayer. Yeah, that's a solid point, Kenny. I probably didn't do a fair analysis there in my mind, because I just kind of analyzed where we are cost wise as far as our fencing equipment installation and all that, as compared to where we are in our staining equipment. I mean, like I said, we got fence, trucks, trailers, and equipment. We have stain van and stain equipment, which the cost of the equipment on stain versus fence for us is lower on stain, but you can get started in either. Pretty low cost of entry. Yep. So with the metal gate frames, can you hide the bolts fasteners on the picket side? all I've seen in person, the bolts are very off-putting visually. Yeah, no. So with the Shark hardware, it bolts directly from the gate post to your gate frame, and then of course on the gate frame you have your 2x4 built out from the steel frame, then your picket built out from the 2x4. So you're not going to see any of the fasteners. You will see. It looks like an overbuilt door hinge is what it looks like. So you'll still see the cylinder on the outside. That way it allows that gate to lay flat on the fence. But that's really the only hardware you're going to see from the outside. From the inside, you will see the post, the gate frame, and the hardware. There's not a great way of getting around it without adding a bunch of weight and therefore, putting extra strain on that gate post. So you end up still seeing all the hardware on the inside. But from the outside, you only see the cylinder, that hinge cylinder from the outside. Yeah, I agree, Kenny, and that's why I say, regardless of which direction you go, please invest in training. Whether and it, like I said, we've got free training at the end of this month. I would go to that even if I'm not presenting there. I know the value that's going to be sitting there, and I would go just to soak it up. Or you can get training elsewhere too. Typically, the training elsewhere is for a fee. The training at the end of this month is for free. But you still have expense, right? You still have travel expense and lodging expense, meal expense, that sort of thing. But if you're considering getting into fencing, standing, etc., please do yourself and everyone else a favor and get as much training as you can absorb. Just because property damage is very real in both. Building fence, there's just as much risk. Now, like I said, you're not spraying stain when you're building fence, obviously, but you can do a lot of damage with a piece of machinery on some property. And also, if you build the fence incorrectly, if it isn't built with quality standards and procedures, you could do a lot of damage there as well. So, absolutely agree, Kenny. Bingo. Want more? Come join us in Tennessee, February 25th, 26th. I couldn't agree more. So, Kenny's going to be one of the instructors there. There's going to be a lot of us there. I think there's going to be 3, 4, 5 instructors there, just all trying to pour out what we know in our head and our hearts to everyone that attends. And we're also going to be doing some evening meetups that are outside of the standard training. I think Caleb had mentioned reaching out to a restaurant to see. So last year we all had dinner, actually the night before the show or before the training. And man, that was quite a bit of fun. I got to meet everybody and chat with people that I haven't actually met in person, but I felt like I knew them because we chatted so much in the Facebook groups, that sort of thing. I think we're going to try to recreate that on Thursday night. So a lot of guys are coming in late Wednesday or they're coming in really early Thursday. So we didn't want to do it Wednesday night. So it sounds like Caleb's trying to put something together for Thursday night, kind of like a after hours networking, because the thing is, you get so much, at least I do, I get so much more value out of those just from the networking, because it's kind of like an in-person live Q&A, right? It's, hey, I heard you say this during your training or, the teaching you're giving, but what did you mean when you said that? Or here's my specific example or scenario. How can you apply your recommendations or your advice into that and just kind of riff on that? I like that so much. So anyway, we're putting that together for Thursday night of the show. All right. So where the pickets are attached to the metal frame on the gate. Okay, I see what you're saying. So what we do, there's an extra step in between there. So for the metal frame, we actually drill and bolt on a 2x4 onto the metal frame. That way it's the same nails being used to attach the pickets to the gate frame as are being attached to the fence. The idea being it's just one consistent look all down the line. The fence pickets to look just like the gate pickets because they're being nailed into the wood 2x4. It's just the same. We would actually drill and then bolt on 2x4s onto that steel frame. We use a square. We use 1.5 by 1.5 square 14 gauge for the gate frames, and then we bolt on 2x4s and then nail the pickets directly on there. So from the outside, it looks just the same. Wait at once know what time I get on Wednesday into Lebanon. I'm probably going to be getting in a little bit late. So, and the reason being, so Sean King is actually, so he has a group called Mr. Fence Academy Associates or Mr. Fence Academy. and then where his associates, he has fence companies come in where he coaches them. He puts a group together. I'm in the group where we help these young. Most of them are younger fence companies. Some of them are established, but we help these fence companies with growing and scaling. So he's putting on a summit that week of the Lebanon training. So Wednesday, I'm flying in midday. I think I get in 11 a.m. maybe into Nashville. I'm actually going to be teaching at his academy on Wednesday, and then driving into Lebanon, checking in Wednesday evening. So I'm planning on spending the day Wednesday with Sean's Mr. Fence Academy Summit, providing them some training, trying to get them as much information as they need. So then I'll probably be coming into Lebanon a little bit late. So Wade, where are you staying? Where are you staying there in Lebanon? I'm going to be staying at the La Quinta. So probably, and so I know Dan, the Fence King, he and I have chatted about this already. So he's on the Fence Academy team as well. So he'll be teaching there in Nashville before heading on to Lebanon. But he's staying in the La Quinta too. So we're probably going to have like a La Quinta meetup. I actually had some points on what was it? I think we had points on the Amex, to where I just used points to stay there, and they had a suite. So it should have like a living room area. So what I'm thinking is we have like, if there's nowhere where we can sit, publicly safely, they're at the La Quinta, like at a lounge, we could always head back to the living room there, have a little meetup. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Kenny, where are you staying as well? So Kenny's going to be teaching there. I'd like to get as much of us together as possible, just because here's the thing, guys. Even when I'm presenting and teaching at these events, I get so much value out of the meet and greets, the evening networking. Because here's the thing, here's a secret about this channel, is I learn as much or more from teaching and doing than I did before I had this channel. So I'm explaining and teaching things to you guys and to the YouTube universe out there, I'm learning as well. So it's in the medical community, there's see one, do one, teach one. And that's the method for learning. You need to watch it happen. You need to do it. You need to perform the task, and then you need to teach the task. And the teach back is just as important, if not more important, than the watching and the doing, because you have to be able to articulate what you're thinking. You have to be explaining. You have to explain your ideas, explain each step. You really have to understand the subject matter before you teach it. So I get just as much value out of interacting on this side of the camera as you guys do on that side of the camera. So anyway. All right. Kenny says, I'll bring some neat tools and tips and a science experiment to get everyone's brain working. I love this so much, Kenny. So, guys, Kenny is such a fun guy to watch. He's very animated. Like I said, he explains things in such a way that even I understand. I'm super excited about the science experiment. I like this a lot. So I like that you're bringing some tools and tips. So tips are something that, I'll be honest, tips are something that I've had a hard time kind of wrapping my mind around how they work. I know the basics of it. So you get your spray width, and then you get the orifice size. Is the bigger the orifice, the more stain goes through it. The wider the tip, the wider the spray pattern. But for some reason, I got to see it in person to really figure that out. So I like that you're bringing some tips to try to help even guys like me figure this stuff out. All right. So Wade's staying at the Hampton Inn. So the thing about Lebanon, from what I remember, the first time I was in Lebanon was last year, but from what I remember, all the hotels are kind of in the same area too. So we might try. I don't want to commit to a Wednesday night meetup because I don't know how long I'll be at the summit. I want to be there as long as those guys need me there. But we all ought to do like some sort of impromptu meetup. I don't know how we'll set that up. Maybe I will, because we've got the community tab here on the YouTube page. So maybe I will post. Let me check this real quick. I actually don't know if I can post to the community for my YouTube app, my studio app. So let me see. I don't see where I can do that. All right, we'll figure this out. So probably what we'll do, well, I don't know. Yep, actually, probably what we'll do. I know what we can do. We can create a community post before the event, because I can reply to comments in the app. I just can't create new comments or community tabs or community posts in the community tab. So probably what I'll do is create a community post probably on Wednesday saying, hey, check out this post for up-to-date information on what's going on. And then we can kind of chat in there. That way everyone kind of stays on the same page as to where we are and what we're doing. If possible, I'd like to throw something together for Wednesday evening when if I'm in town. I don't want, like I said, I don't want to commit to something and then have it not happen. I definitely hate overcommitting, so I don't want to do that. But anyway, we'll try to set something up. I'm curious on the stability of the Postmaster post versus wooden post, as in when they are set and the fence is complete, do they wobble any as much less? So they do. You do have more flex. So here's the thing: when we're talking about structural integrity, and I've got a future brother-in-law he's an engineer, and so he tries to explain things to me in a way that I understand. But I'm a fence guy, and he's an engineer. So, but the more things flex, or the more rigid things are, the less they flex, the less strength they have. So, like with building, if you watch, a hyper lapse of a building, you can see buildings move. Same thing with bridges. If you watch a hyperlapse of a bridge, you can see that bridge move over time, especially like in events like an earthquake, which really exaggerate it. But they move, they flex, because flexing gives them strength. Being less flexible means you're less strong. You break easier. So the Postmaster posts do flex more than a wood post does. But that flexing is what gives them the strength. Like I say, they're warranted up to a 72-mile-an-hour wind, so they can withstand 72-mile-an-hour winds on a 6-foot tall privacy fence. On the original Postmaster, I don't think I've seen this on the Postmaster Plus brochures, but on the original Postmasters, they had testing data, shear strength, like a 4x4x8 or a 4x4 wood post, or wind load capacity of a 4x4 wood post. What else do they have on there? They had like a 2.5-inch steel post, like a round steel post, and a Postmaster post. The wood post, a 4x4 post, I think it was a cedar post even. I don't even think it was a treated pine. I think 4x4 8 cedar was something like 45, 46 miles an hour. And the original Postmaster posts were, I think the wind load capacity on those were 70. The Postmaster Plus post, I think, bumped it up to 72 miles an hour wind load capacity. But anyway, wood posts are more rigid. They have less flex, but they're also less strong. That rigidity takes away some of the strength because they break easier, they break sooner, because they're less pliable. If they're not flexing, they're breaking, sort of thing. Whoop, there we go. Metal frame gates I've seen around here, they all have the pickets bolted to the front. Oh, okay. So, yeah, they stick out like a short thumb, which equals poor craftsmanship. Well, here's the thing. So I'm not going to say, poor craftsmanship. Here's the thing about this channel. I used to have an intro in all my videos, but it's a 30-second intro and people didn't like watching it. But basically it said, listen, I'm a third-generation fence guy. I learned this from my dad, who learned from his dad. I also learned a fair amount from my granddad. This is a way that we've honed our craft since 1955. There are other ways to build fence, but this is our way, and I'm going to teach you our way. So I don't want to pass judgment on other people's craftsmanship. For us, we bolt 2x4s, we nail pickets on. If you were to ask them, there's probably a reason why they bolt them on. It would look less visually appealing. I can see your point there, Ronald. But like I said, I'm not going to pass judgment. Kenny, you got... Okay, so now I know why this wasn't available. So I looked for... They don't call it a presidential suite, but they had a big suite available when I checked the first time. And then I went back because I was like, oh, that'd be cool. We could... Because at first I was also considering bringing my video guy along with us, and it was like a 2-bedroom, I think. And then I went back, and that thing was gone, and which works out because my videographer, he's not going to be able to make it with us anyway. So you got the big room. Look at you go, Kenny. Well, maybe we'll all just hang out at Kenny's place then, because he's got the big suite. Yeah, so La Quinta. So it sounds like a lot of us are saying it at La Quinta, because I know, so obviously Kenny is. I know Dan Blank, the Fence King, I think he'll be there. Or I know he'll be there. I think he's teaching at both the academy with me on Wednesday, and then also teaching at the university on Thursday. So Guys, I'm super excited. I am. Hey, so let's talk about this, guys. So we've got at least one other person. So we've got Wade, and then Kenny also is going to be there. Okay, never mind. So somebody's got the big room. Somebody had it because I had enough points to cover it, but I had to verify whether my videographer is going or not. So I didn't pull the trigger on it. Somebody has it. Maybe it's Dan. Maybe the Fence King's got the big room, which makes sense because Dylan's coming with him. 2 guys are going. They need 2 bedrooms, so maybe that makes sense. Anyway, but I hope you're still staying in La Quinta. A lot of us are. So maybe we'll have like a little La Quinta meetup, which, where'd you say, Wade? I think you said, Hampton Inn. So we'll see how far away the Hampton is from the La Quinta Inn and try to get something set up there. Maybe Wednesday dinner. Maybe, I don't know. Hey, Wade, when are you leaving? So I'm flying back on Sunday. The training is Thursday and Friday. Staying on Thursday, fence on Friday. So we've got all day Saturday. I think I've got plans on Saturday, but that leaves Friday night and Saturday night open. So we can also do kind of a meetup, impromptu, something or other at a restaurant. We all got to eat dinner anyway. We might do something like that Friday or Saturday night. So Kenny and Wade, or hey guys, if there's anybody else here that's also going to State University, let me know. We'll kind of make some plans right now on what we're doing. Maybe not make firm plans, but at least talk about plans. What was I going to say? So yeah, Thursday night, Friday night dinner. Wade right now is, I believe, the only person. If there's anyone else in the room right now or watching this, I say the room. I've been on Clubhouse too much. That's an interesting topic we should talk about if any of you guys are on Clubhouse. But if any of you are watching this, if you're also going to be at St. Cecilia University, chime in. I'd love to hear from you guys because what I'm trying to do is put together a training for you guys. I know the gist of what I want to talk about. I'm really passionate about video. Obviously, we're doing this right now. But I really want some guidance on what you guys would value most, like how I can be of most service to you guys. I want to bring the most value possible, but without a little bit of guidance, I'm really just kind of talking to you guys about what I think you want me to talk about rather than what you actually want me to talk to you about. So obviously video is kind of the subject matter, the larger subject matter. But when we're talking about the finer points of it, why don't you let me know? Yeah, so I heard there's a roundtable talk on Saturday. So what we did last year, and I don't know, I need to clarify this with Caleb. I know we did a roundtable discussion, a small scale roundtable at State and Steel Experts the Saturday after the show. I don't know that that's what we're doing this year. He has mentioned that though, Wade, hadn't he? So, actually, I think he mentioned that while he and I were talking on here during the live Q&A. Need to clarify that, don't we? On if there's going to be a live roundtable. Should we call Caleb? I think we should call Caleb. I'm going to have to warn him though. Let's get some clarification on this. Caleb, if you're watching, I'm getting ready to call you. So be ready. Hope he's ready. I'm not going to call him on speakerphone because I'm going to tell him he's on speakerphone. He's not answering. He's probably busy running State and Steel Experts. Hey, Caleb, Joe Everest. Hey, we are live on Ask the Expert on the YouTube live Q&A. Hey, we're discussing the event right now live. we had a question on a roundtable on Saturday because I think you and I talked about it, but actually now in the comments they're telling me maybe Sean and I discussed it on Saturday. Anyway, I'm live for the next half hour. One, if you could just give me a call and we'll chat about it live on Ask the Expert live Q&A. Talk to you later, buddy. Bye. We will see. I need to take my phone off of silent mode or quiet mode now. So we'll see, guys. We'll see. We'll see what he says. Yeah. So it might have been me and Sean. Guys, I don't have just a super great memory on things like this. Well, because the events all kind of fluid anyway. But we did talk about it live on Saturday. So we should put something together like that. We'll put a round table together where, I think you're right. I think he's at Florida in conference. I think he did tell me that. Again, not a great memory. So I think he's busy with Sand Steel Experts. But yeah, we should do something there. So that's we'll see what's going on. I would like to do a roundtable Q&A. Maybe get all the speakers up and we all just kind of do some rapid fire Q&A stuff with the crowd. I think I love Q&As. I love this. I love Q&As in general because, like I said before, it allows the speakers to tailor their answers to specific questions and scenarios and really, give detailed advice, right? To give detailed answers specific to the questions rather than just what they think the questions will be and what they think the scenarios will be. And it's, more detailed answers are always best. So if I listened to that too, the live at Margaritaville. It's what channel is it on? It's on Sirius, one of the Sirius country stations. So they've got a Margaritaville there in Nashville that they go live from every Friday. So the Nashville that I visited for the last Stand Steel Experts was a very different Nashville than what I'm used to. You have to sit, you have to stay seated, you can't move up and around. Of course, you got to wear masks indoors and out. Everything closes early. I doubt they let us do a live Q&A from Margaritaville. But I do like going to Margaritaville, though. The coconut shrimp, very delicious. I like them a lot. And everyone likes it when the volcano goes off. That's always a pretty good time, too. So I'm actually a pretty big Jimmy Buffett fan. So Margaritaville is straight up my alley. We like to visit Margaritaville. It's kind of wherever we go. But we should put something together on Saturday. I would like to get out to Sand Steel Experts on one of these days to see their setup. I'm interested in seeing their stained dip tank. We just built a dip tank, and with help from Kenny and from other guys and Caleb. But now that I've got one built, I've got a few questions. I'd like to see them in person to where I can actually touch and feel. Right. So pictures and videos are great. They help you a lot, but sometimes there's some things get lost in translation. Like you want to see and touch something, or then you see one thing and then that leads you to want to see another thing, if that makes sense. So we'll see. I'll check that out. A fellow parrot head. Oh yeah, Wade. We got all sorts of stuff in common. Very good. All right, guys. So those of you that are with us, why don't you, if you haven't left a comment already, there's 8 of you here. I'd like to talk to each and every one of you. If you haven't left a comment already, please do so. Let me know who you are, where you're from. Of course, if you have any fencing or business or YouTube related questions, we could certainly chat about that. So far, we went through the quote tool. So Wade, I think you had asked me. Let me get back up in here about my salesman, but also I think you'd asked me about Job Nimbus. Yep, there it is. Looking at Job Nimbus and my salesman. So let's see if there's any questions or comments out there right now. I'll give you, guys, just a minute here because I know right now we're on like a 30-second delay. So I say something, it takes 30 seconds for you to see it and type your comment. So I'm going to give it a little bit. But if I don't see some comments, questions, or otherwise, we might run through Job Nimbus. So, yeah. So, Wade, what specifically would you like to see in Job Nimbus? I can take you through the whole thing. It can be a lengthy deal. I'm happy to do it, but if I can tailor that to what you're looking for, actually, you know what? So here's where my mind's going right now on the Job Nimbus. So I don't have I do not have a demo account. Well, how should I say this? So really the only templates I have in Job Nimbus are like our for real templates. And so one of the things we talked about earlier was, so when we're talking about antitrust, the federal regulations for antitrust and monopolies and all that, the Sherman Act specifically talks about price comparison. It's something I'm really wanting to be cognizant of, because this is a channel that has a decent reach. I mean, it gets out there. We had a guy from London watching, a month or so ago. We have viewership anyway. It's a big viewership, so it can be a big viewership. We have to make sure that we follow the rules, especially the federal rules in regards to antitrust. The only templates I have are templates we actually use to have actual live pricing in them. So what I would be nervous about would be sharing those here on a live platform that goes out across the country. That probably makes me nervous. So we probably won't show that today. And the only reason being, like I said, it has live prices in it. So prices that are accurate as of today. So I think that could be viewed as a price comparison. If I'm showing you what price you going through my Job Nimbus, you would know exactly where I'm priced at, which is fine. Like, I don't mind people knowing, except for, like, I'm not trying to hide it is what I'm saying, but me sharing it probably could be price comparison, and that could be a federal charge. And I'd really rather avoid that. Let me do this. So I'll put on my task list to create a demo template that just has like all $1 amounts or something. That way we can legally show it. And I don't have to be nervous about whether it does or doesn't comply with the Sherman Act. What's up, Ronald? Appreciate you chiming in with us. You're very welcome. Absolutely. Go have dinner. Go have some dinner with the wifey. Ron, I appreciate you tuning in. I mean, the great questions you're giving us helps me help you, sort of thing. So I appreciate you coming along. Yeah, use me however you can. Use your content however you can. Absolutely. Have a great evening. So Wade says he's talked to Job Nimbus at a demo with him. I'm trying to narrow it down to which one to use. So Wade, let me do this. Let me ask you. So what other software are you looking at? What other platforms are you looking at? We've tried quite a few of them. We were with Job Nimbus 2 years ago, and then we moved away from Job Nimbus. Job Nimbus is on the more expensive side. So I try to be thrifty when I can, where it makes sense to be thrifty. So we tried some other platforms that were less expensive, and ultimately we wound up back at Job Nimbus because none of them quite did what we needed them to do. For me, job costing is huge. Job Nimbus does it almost seamlessly. It's a couple clicks of convert, and you have a what do they call it? They have a budget, and then you can do budget versus actual calculations on it. So I kind of like that. Kenny's game for a roundtable anytime. My plan is to teach basics at the class, have people ask questions if time allows, and submit written questions for later with Facebook or roundtable. I like that a lot, Kenny. So in all honesty, that's a version of what I was thinking about doing, was giving, and I need to clarify about how much time we have, but if I have an hour or 45 minutes, whatever the time limit, use half of it is structured, me standing up there talking, and then half of it in a live, Q&A session. So but I like your follow-up that have written questions for later. So that could be nice too. We can incorporate that as well. Or a roundtable. Roundtable discussions are just so helpful. I'm getting a lot of notifications. I was hoping one wasn't Caleb. So, hey, answer me this. Any of you guys on Clubhouse? I'm on Clubhouse, and it is amazing. I like it a lot. It's an audio platform, which basically you can have real-time audio conversations with people from all over the world about different subjects. So each room has a different subject that whoever created the room creates the discussion topic. And I think it's incredibly interesting, and I use it. So I'd like to know if you guys use it. All right. So Wade's looking at Joyce, Job Nimbus, and My Salesman. So I haven't used I probably should have asked that before I ran you through just the My Salesman quote tool. I haven't used the CRM side of My Salesman. Um, I'd be interested in doing a demo with them. So Rachel, and Matt are going to be. It's not Caleb. They're both Rachel and Matt are going to be at. Well, I know Matt is. I don't know if Rachel is, but they're going to be at. No, I think Rachel did say she was going to be. Anyway, they're going to be at the San Diego University and Fence Academy. So I want to do a demo with them on the CRM side. So that's interesting to me too. I know Job Nimbus. The reason we kept coming back to Job Nimbus is it is just so detail oriented. Like you can dive so deep into that platform and have only scratched the surface. I mean, that's how I feel. We've done trainings with Job Nimbus. I've spent a lot of time digging deep into all their features and nuances, and I'll catch a YouTube video somewhere where someone's using it so much better than I am. There's so many features there, but it's expensive. I haven't used Joist, so I wouldn't be a good frame of reference. I know a lot of guys do use Joist. A lot of the smaller contractors. I think what it probably comes down to is how big of an operation you're running. So Job Nimbus helps companies with multiple crews kind of take all of that into one also through their calendar. So if it's an owner operator, I don't know. Job Nimbus might be a little spendy for an owner operator, whereas Joist might be more in line with that. My argument to that though would be you want to plan to scale. Even if you're owner operator, or even if you're the one out there doing the work and selling the work, you still want to plan for the day where you take the tool belt off, right? And no one ever takes the tool belt off completely, but you want to plan for the day when you scale. So I don't know. I'm a big fan of Job Nimbus. Just like we keep coming back to it. It's more expensive. We pay more for it, but the features in it are it's got so many. So what I'll do is I'll create a demo template. I'll probably run through it on one of these live Q&As, which actually I think we only have one more live Q&A before. Check out the calendar. I think we only have one. Yeah, we only have one live Q&A before the training there in Lebanon. So next week I'll try to get that done, which it won't be hard. I'll get it done for next week. I'll create a demo and we can run through it here. Also, I'll have my laptop and everything with me, Wade. I can run you through that. I can probably answer more detailed questions that you have live, but I'm happy to do both. Kenny says, I like the science behind things. It's one thing to know how to do it or what to use, but why? So I might get a bit geeky on folks. Kenny, I'm all about that. So, and I think probably what you're going to talk about would probably be cleaning. So that's one area that I'm still, to your point, I'm still like, I know what to use, like in what situations, but I'm still shaky on the why. Like the chemical science reasons why, you would use sodium metasilicate over sodium hypochlorite or, something to that effect. I say you can get as geeky as you want because I would love to learn more about it. He says, that's where I'm stuck at. You have to pay for Job Nimbus and My Salesman. Job Nimbus does seem awesome, but does not have the bid option. Yeah, Job Nimbus has bids. So we do all of the bids through Job Nimbus. Now they're not. I'll say this. So we moved away from Job Nimbus. We used one. What were we using? Let's see. We were using a program called Responsive Bid for the proposals because the proposals in Job Nimbus are just very straightforward. Here's what's bid. Here's how much it's bid. Here it is. They're not flashy. I mean, they're not super polished. It's not like a presentation. Whereas in Job Nimbus, you get a presentation or not Job Nimbus, but with Responsive Bid, you get more of a presentation. Also, Responsive Bid will give multiple options. So you can have like a good, better, best all in one presentation. In Job Nimbus, that would be 3 different proposals. So Job Nimbus is a little bit clunkier on the proposals, but you can take straight from that proposal and create an invoice directly from it. You can also create a work order directly from it and a budget, so you can do your job costing post production all from that one proposal. And it's sent, and that's 3 clicks. Literally, well, 4 clicks. You press convert and then convert that one proposal into all those different things. So it's a little clunkier. Yeah, so you can do proposals through it. I mean, something like the demo you show us today on my sales one. Okay, well, okay, so I could probably show you. Yeah, I can show you everything but the proposal. Yeah, let's do that. So I'm going to navigate through this real quick before I bring you guys on screen share, just to make sure we're not flashing anything up on the screen that we shouldn't be. Give me just a second. Hold, please. All right. So let me share my screen with you guys now. All right. So this is inside Job Nimbus. This is a test account that we have up. So just kind of where we teach different team members on different ways to use it. So these are all the proposals or estimates. And actually, I tell you what, we can actually dive into one of these estimates. We'll pull up an old one because these numbers won't be like this proposal was April of 2019. So this proposal is not going to be valid in any way, shape, or form. These numbers might as well be fictional. So this is a proposal itself. So you'd have the name here, of course, your estimate number and your date. Now you can choose to do this in different ways. In this particular one, it doesn't show the items within each one of these, each one of these headers. So one header is 6-foot privacy fence installed, cedar materials on steel post. Then we've got 8-foot double gate, 4-foot single gate. So it's not showing the client how many of what material you're using and then what the cost is per each. It's just an overall. Here's what's going to cost for your single gates. Here's what's going to cost for your double gates, and then you get the subtotal and total. Now, when you get into this, this is what the customer would see. This is what you see on the contractor side. So you have in here all of the materials it would take to build this fence. You have the Postmaster steel post. You have the 2x4/8 cedar rails. You got at this point, we were using the 1x8/6 Eastern red cedar pickets. Wish we could get those still. Finish nails, Postmaster screws, concrete, fence labor, setup labor, installation equipment. Now, remember what the customer saw. The customer didn't see any of these items. They just saw the header, the privacy fence installed. Now, one way you can do it too is you can say, hey, I want to hide the line item amounts. Well, so I want hide line item amounts. So it'll show the line items, but it'll hide the amounts. So it'll show kind of what's included in this. Hey, you got 8-foot Postmaster post. You got 2x4/8 cedar rails. You have 1x7. It'll show each and every one of them. Then the third option is you can show them the amounts. I'm not really clear on in what scenario you would show them. You would show them all your numbers, because where this really gets, I think this opens up. So what it'll say is, hey, you're going to use 8 Postmaster steel posts at a cost of $30 a post for a total of $241 in post. Where I think this gets into nitpicking, so say like the Cedar 2x4s. Now, we don't use Cedar 2x4s that you run down to your local home improvement store and buy. So at this time, the Cedar 2x4s, we were charging $13.49 per 2x4. What I didn't want to get into, what I don't want to get into is discussion is the customer saying, well, I can get Cedar 2x4s for, in this particular scenario for $8.50. You can't, but I don't even want to get into the pricing discussion on the per each with the client. So we hide all that. But the important thing here is, the important thing in here is you have everything down to your finish nails, and you can customize this however you want. If you want to track, I don't know what else you would track in the fence installation process, but if you use a different material, well, so if you're using wood post and you're using the fence armor, the protection for those posts, you would include how many units of fence armor you had on the project. Anyway, so you're tracking how many of each item, what your cost of those items are, the markup you're applying to it, and then the finish price. Down at the bottom, it shows you, here's your cost in the project. So this project would have cost us $1,674. The markup in the project would have been $1,279.72. So 76% markup, subtotal, and your total. Also, it has tax. In the state of Missouri, there is not tax on the installation side. We pay tax on the materials. So the government still gets their tax on materials. We just don't charge tax on the installation of it. Anyway, so say that is our estimate. Now, the nice thing we can do, so from here, as it loads, probably trying to run too many things at the same time on this one computer. So say that was, what would you do that? So that one totaled to $29.53. So say that customer said, yep, I'm ready for you to do it. Go ahead. So we would do a couple things. We would convert this one proposal into a work order. And on the work order, the crew gets this. So we would save this for the crew, and we would say, you're going to need 8 Postmasters, 21 rails, 98 pickets, 882 finish nails, grab a couple boxes, Postmaster screws, etc. So the crew can look at this one page and know exactly what they would need. Now, what we would do, we would compile these. So, like you see an 80-foot double gate, you've got 2.5-inch gate posts. The 4-foot single gate, you also have 2.5-inch gate posts. So we would compile these. We would just make that one line item at 4 2.5-inch posts. Leads to less confusion. But in that one click in the converting process, you created the work order. Then you can also put it on their calendar, and then you can assign it to different crews. You can give the crews their projected start date and end date, all that good information. But the big takeaway here is the crew knows exactly what materials were priced to be on that project. So, and then where else do we go from here? You can also, with one click, convert to a budget. So the budget, so we would convert it to a budget in the beginning, and then we would just save it. So the budget is, the gross profit on this project would have been $1,279.72, which would be 43.33% gross profit. Gross profit is before overhead, before all of your net expense, or before your expenses to get to net. And what we would do then is, so we would save this document, and then we wouldn't see this document again until after the project was completed, and the crews posted their actuals. So they post them in the notes. They would say, well, we actually used 9 Postmasters. We used 24 2x4s. We used whatever the materials were. Or maybe they only had to use 7 posts because the layout was different when they got there. Something like that. And then at the end of the project, everybody sits down and says, okay, well, because we used all these different materials, that changed our bottom line, our gross profit, by X amount. And we either did or did not. We have, our company goal is to hit no less than 40% gross profit. So did we hit goal on this or not? And if we didn't hit goal, if this number was, this number is 43%, if this number was 39% because it used extra post rail and pickets, how can we change that? How can we make sure we don't make this mistake again? And then we can save this. Of course, you can change prices too. if we said, hey, these were priced at our cost being 17 and a quarter, how long ago was that? Obviously, this was in 2019, 1725 per or 1727 per post. Well, we actually ended up paying 1795 per post. We got price increase in between pricing this and selling or installing it. You could change that here too and see how, so say these went to $32 a post. We use 8 of them. So you could see here at the bottom line, obviously now we're at 39%. So we obviously did not price this correctly. We didn't take into account a pricing increase or something like that. So, yeah. And then you can also price, or you can also convert directly to an invoice. You can convert to the invoice there. So the invoice would get kicked down here into invoices. You can also, it'll track your budget. So we walk through budgets. It'll track your invoices, credit memos. If you have a credit memo for, a change order, something like that, you would put it in here. And of course, any payments that way. And this screen is available in our business. You can change permissions in our business. Everyone views this screen. That way the guys on the job, once they're done, can look this up and say, okay, well, Mr. Smith, we walked through the project. I want to make sure that we're delivering the 5-star level of service that you expect. Would you say that is or isn't true? If not, what can we do to change it right now? If it is true, okay, well, I see, your total was $29,53.75. I see that you paid, whatever, $1,000 down. So, would you be paying the remainder $1,953.75 with a check or with a card? And then they can leave with a check. Or if it's a card, they can call it into the office. So that everyone knows exactly where this project is financially, the whole thing. They can see the budget. They can see where we should be at it, margin wise, gross profit wise. They see everything. So I'm a big transparency guy in the business. I'm a big transparency guy in general, but especially in the business. So anyway, that's that would be that. Let me know if you want to see anything more in that. I'm sure we can go a little bit more in depth. But yeah. All right. So I hope that was helpful, Wade. Well, guys, we're coming up on our 2.5 hour mark. We're 2 hours and 21 minutes at 2.5 hours, 5:30 Central Time. I like to call this thing done and then go home and play with my kiddos and see them. They haven't seen me a lot lately, just as we've been remodeling the new office and YouTube studio. I'm so excited to show you guys the YouTube studio. It is literally right now we're in a 10 by 12 office, and the YouTube studio is going to be significantly bigger. So bigger stage, bigger studio. What I'm hoping is to be able to give you guys like multiple camera angles. So obviously right now we just have the head on, the straight on camera angle. But I'd sure like to be able to show you guys like an over the shoulder, something like that. Just to make this channel more visually interesting for you guys. It'd be my biggest thing. But yeah, excited for that. So guys, like I said, leave your comments, questions below. Oh no. So Wade says you lost sound. So let me see. Stop screen. Camera mic. Let me see. Is that the message I'm getting? No, it's not. So let me see. Audio shows that it's good. Let me pull it up on my YouTube and just see. You guys might get some reverb out of this. Actually, I can do it right from here. No, we've got audio. We've got audio right now. Give just a second, let this catch up. Like I said, it's about on a 30-second delay. No, we've got audio. Okay, so sorry for that if it echoed on you guys. Still got a little bit of audio here. So Wade, maybe you lost audio on your end, but it sounds like there's audio going out. Oh, good. So Kenny's chiming in. Sounds good on his end. Okay, good deal. So anyway, I hope that little Job Nimbus tour. But Wade, if you guys or if anybody watching wants to talk about more about the apps that we use in my business, please let me know. We can do a walkthrough here on the channel. Also, I'll have my laptop with me there at the Stainless Steel University and Fence Academy at the end of this month. we can also walk through it there. Guys, for more information on the Stain Steel Academy or Stain Steel University and Fence Academy, check out the link in the description below. Also, much thanks to Stain Steel Experts for sponsoring this and all the other live broadcasts I do. Those guys rock. I like them a lot. That's why I use a product even before they were a sponsor. Check them out. Their link is in the description below as well. But guys, for now, I don't see a lot of other questions coming in. We've got about 6 minutes though, so we'll continue to stick around here. If you guys have any questions or whatever, just let me know, and we'll go from there. Kenny, when are you starting a YouTube channel, sir? I think it would be hugely popular to have you share your staining knowledge with other people, just in the same way that I'm sharing my fencing knowledge. I think a lot of guys could get a lot of benefit out of hearing what you have to do about stain. I know I would. I'd watch for sure. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Guys, there's 5 of you watching. I know Kenny's here and I know Wade's here. So we got 3 other folks watching. I'd sure like to know who's here. Let me know you're here by let's do this. Let's say why don't you post in the comments below what your weekend plans are. Let's do that. I'd like to say goodbye to you guys. I'd like to know who's here so I can say goodbye to you guys personally instead of just saying see you guys later. I know you guys are on a little bit of time delay, so I'll let it go. I'll let it go here for a little bit. Well, hey, Kenny. I mean, me too, right? I mean, that's the joke my granddad said all the time. When we started doing radio, that was his biggest joke ever, was Joe's our radio guy because he's got the face for radio. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. I mean, so here's the thing. The example I use all the time on why to do, I talk to guys all the time. I said, do video on your Facebook page, on your business Facebook page, preferably live video, because live video, you can't stop whenever you say, and you just got to do it. And those make you real, right? Those make you more relatable. But anyway, here's my example is when I was selling fence for Ozark Fence, when I was consulting, I went up and I was doing a lot of live video and a lot of video in general. And so I went and knocked on this lady's door and I said, she answered the door and I said, ma'am, my name's Joe Everest. I'm with Ozark Fence and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about fence. She goes, you're the guy on Facebook. And that was something I'd hear. We did a lot of Facebook stuff. So I heard that a lot. So I had a little joke and I said, well, yeah. I said, because here's the thing. There's no way I'm paying somebody to do that stuff on Facebook. And if I was, they wouldn't look like me. And we'd have a little joke about it, right? Have a little laugh. And then we went in the backyard and we were talking about her fence. And she said, I want a privacy fence. I said, okay, that makes sense. We do a lot of privacy fence. So people come to us a lot for that. It's something I hear a lot. Let me tell you what, we're a little bit different than everybody else because we only use steel posts. And the reason why is they last a lot longer. And I think they're just a better option for you, the customer. And she said, you know what? I saw that video too that you did on the steel posts. And that's exactly what I want. She said, I want those steel posts and the cedar materials, just like you said in the video. She already knew me. She already knew my company. She already knew what I was coming to talk to her about, the steel posts and the cedar material, before I even had the chance to get it out. She already pre-selected herself into that category. My job at that time was to verify the measurements and give her a price on it. That was before we were using my salesman as a mandatory first step. But anyway, it was hugely impactful because it helped her know, like, and trust me and my brand, my business, before we even knocked on her door. So I'm just a huge proponent of it. So you guys, like I said, Kenny, the face for radio, I get it. But you're already doing videos on the Stainless Steel University page. Do them for your business. Do them for you. Hey, I don't know if you know John Bowdy. So he's got Stony Creek Fence. He's over in Indiana. Actually, he's kind of over by Sean King, Mr. Fence. But anyway, what he does is he does job walkthrough videos where he'll do a live video from Stony Creek Fence where he just says, hey, guys, it's John with Stony Creek Fence. I wanted to bring you guys along while I did this project walkthrough. And here's what I'm looking for. That's something you could do, Kenny. You can say, hey, I'm walking through this fence. I'm getting ready. We just got done staining. I like to talk about the materials. We just got done staining this beautiful new cedar fence. We stained it in Stain Steel Experts chestnut or whatever it is. I wanted to show you guys what I'm looking for when I do a walkthrough. I'm looking underneath the rails, and take them through the whole thing. It can be a 5-minute walk around. And really what you're doing is showing them I've got attention to detail, and I'm going to treat your project like it's the biggest thing I've got going. I'm going to check underneath the rails. I'm going to check here and there so that they start knowing, liking, and trusting you and your brands. So I think it's hugely impactful. I think you ought to do it. And you should start a YouTube channel as well, Kenny. What's Kenny doing this weekend? He's car shopping with my daughter. Kenny, I feel for you. I've got a daughter, so she's 12 going on 13. Yeah, I had to do math in my head real quick. 12 going on 13. I almost thought she was 13 going on 14. Thank goodness we're not there yet. But anyway, yeah, we're getting close to car age, which actually now in the state of Missouri used to be 16. Now I think it's 17 for a learners, and you can't get your full-fledged license until you're 18. So we might dodge the bullet for another year or two there, but we're getting pretty close to car shopping age, and I'm not looking forward to that. And you know what I ought to do? I ought to do what my dad did and said, so I started working for him actually at her age. I was 12 or 13 when I started working with him. He just woke me up one morning, the first day of summer, and said, "Hey, come on, you're coming to work with me, kid." And then he said, "Hey, you're going to want a car one day here in the next few years." And so I'm not actually going to pay you. I'm going to put this money in an account for you, and we will save up for a vehicle together. Which means he didn't have to buy me my car, which he did buy me my car. He didn't actually physically put money in an account. He just kind of kept track of how much I worked and how much I would have earned, and then put that in a car account. But anyway, maybe I'll do that with her. I probably won't do that with her. I did a lot of stuff I wouldn't want her to do. I mean, that's a parent's thing, right? You want better for your kids than what you had. But I don't want her out building fence all summer and calloused hands, and probably not a thing for a daughter to do. But I feel you on the car shopping. I wish you good luck on finding a car for your daughter. Well, guys, it's 5:30. It's actually 5:31. I'm going to give you guys just another minute. I'm going to say goodbye to you guys. Appreciate you guys sticking around. There's 5 of you. Let's check out the live stream statistics real quick. So there's 165 playbacks so far with an average view of 11 minutes. So 165 folks watch this throughout the last 2.5 hours. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. I appreciate guys like Kenny and Wade that have been around for pretty much the whole thing. Appreciate you guys a lot. You helped me get through this by giving me a content suggestion ideas, and that helps this whole thing go a lot easier. But guys, one last time, much thanks. Huge shout out to Stainless Steel Experts for sponsoring my live channel. And also check out the Stainless Steel University 2021 that's teamed up with Fence Academy. John King's Mr. Fence Academy is coming up here in 2 weeks. Today's Thursday, so it's actually 2 weeks from today. We will be in Lebanon, Tennessee, right outside Nashville, and we'll be teaching guys like Kenny. Will be teaching you guys staining, which I look forward to learning from him. I'll be talking a little bit about video and marketing. We've got Sean coming in to teach us about fence. We got other great teachers coming in to teach us about deck staining and all sorts of fence installation and marketing. I think Fence King is coming down to talk about some marketing that he does. Yeah, I can't wait to meet you guys in person. For more information, find the link in the description below, and I have a brief description about the event. I'll also let you sign up online. It's a completely free event, so there's no charge. You just got to show up. Yeah, get yourself there. Pay for your lodging, show up, and they'll take over from there. So I'm really excited to see guys like Wade and Kenny and all the rest of you guys there, and meet you guys in person and talk to you guys more about fence. But for now, I'm Joe Everest, the fence expert, and I'm reminding you that good fences make good neighbors. Have a great evening, guys.